And welcome to MoteCon 2024. I'm Eleni Kyritsis and I'm Mote's community leader. And we have got Will, our amazing co-founder, here with us to introduce MoteCon this year. Welcome, Will.
Hey, thanks very much, Eleni, and welcome everyone to MoteCon 2024. It's the fourth MoteCon. And if this is your first, yeah, it's like, I mean, I guess some people have been with us every year, and we'll introduce a speaker later in a few minutes who's actually presented at every single one of the MoteCons we've had. But for us, it's always a highlight to have these events, share some of the new things we built, but also just hear from folks around the world who are using Mote in really innovative and creative ways. And hopefully you'll pick up 2 or 3 new ideas about how you can use Mote in your classroom over the next year, and give us your own ideas. And who knows, maybe next year you will be presenting here at MoteCon.
That's right, Will. We've had an amazing time at Mote, and I know that today at MoteCon, we've got some amazing presenters lined up, but we've also changed the format a little bit this year, and that sort of reflects Mote's direction. Did you want to share with our viewers a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this year we decided to organize MoteCon around 4 key themes, and we did this to make it easier for folks to navigate content and to figure out, where are you going to find most value for yourself. And those 4 key themes, the first one is accessibility. And everybody, I'm sure, is familiar with ways that they can use Mote, but hopefully you'll see some great ideas of adding more accessibility in the classroom using Mote. And that's a really important focus for us right now. We've added some recent features, which I think have really expanded that. And you can expect to see us add more and more support for students with special needs over the next few months. The second area is productivity and time saving. So again, if you've been using Mote for a while, you'll know that Mote is a great way to improve your productivity and save time. But I suspect there's a few new tricks and tips that you're going to pick up, which will help you save time. The third area is the language classroom. So we have loved seeing a number of language teachers around the world who've used Mote with their students for speaking assessments, for listening activities, and a whole range of activities. And we're going to have some fantastic educators here talking about their experience and showing ways that you can use Mote in the language classroom. And finally, an area close to your heart, Eleni, we've got a whole section on the elementary classroom, and especially using Mote creatively with younger learners. Now, some of these activities are also great for older learners as well. But that's awesome, and I can't wait. We've got some fantastic speakers lined up for that as well.
Thanks, Will. And, that's the thing I love about MoteCon is we get to hear from teachers who are using it in their classroom and get to see firsthand of ways that we can use it tomorrow or next week, whenever it is, with your own students. So I'm really excited to see all the amazing things that all our presenters have to share today. But also, if there is anything that is shared or you have any questions, make sure you follow us on all our socials. And also you can always reach out to Will or myself, and would always be willing and love to hear from you guys. As you said, there are a lot of new features that we're working on and behind the scenes, and a lot of them come from you as the teachers. So when you guys reach out to us, it goes to the team, and Will can tell you exactly how firsthand those products get through the line. And, a lot of our amazing changes and new things that we're going to share today have come from teachers who are using it. So we thank them all today for their input in improving and helping teachers around the world with Mote.
Fantastic. 100% agree. I cannot stress how much we value the direct feedback we get from our users. And literally every time we launch something, the best part of it is we get the feedback on what features people want us to add. So teachers will tell us, I love this, but can you add this other feature? So that's been a real focus for us. And if you haven't already played with some of the new things we've launched, like Mote Generate or text-to-speech, uploading content, then you'll hear more about those today. Now, our first speaker, I kind of mentioned a little earlier, this is her 4th time presenting at MoteCon, so she's presented every year. She is an amazing education thought leader. We're so happy to have her as part of the Mote community. And so I'm going to welcome to the stage in just a few seconds, Stacey Roshan. So it's goodbye from Eleni and I for now. Please enjoy the rest of MoteCon. And yeah, we can't wait to hear what you think of the sessions. So enjoy MoteCon.
Enjoy. Bye.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for choosing to join me today. In this session, we are going to explore how to use Mote to create a more inclusive learning environment that supports student expression and choice. By leveraging Mote's capabilities, we can help students express themselves more fluently and authentically and provide them choice in how they receive instruction and personalized feedback from their teachers. My hope is that by the end of this session, you will have gained practical strategies and tips for using Mote to create an environment where every student feels heard, supported, and empowered to learn in a style that best fits their needs. Before we dive in, let me introduce myself. My name is Stacey Roshan. I am the author of Tech with Heart. I was a math teacher for many years, and now I have transitioned to working with teachers and supporting them in leveraging various edtech tools to best support what they're trying to do in the classroom. If you'd like to connect, you can find me on most social media platforms at BuddyXO. And I also have a website, techiemusings.com, where you can find my contact information. And please feel free to follow up with me if there's anything more you would like to discuss even after this session. That definitely comes included with this talk. If you would like to interact with my slides today, you have the option of engaging through the Pear Deck that I have. There, you can type out some thoughts that you have, and you can also ask any questions, and I will be able to reply to you directly because I'll have you sign in, and I will be able to reply to you through that. I just wanted to give some choices, so whatever you prefer, that's what you should do for this session. To open, I wanted to ask a quick little warm up where I allow you some space and time to come up with an intention related to the topic of the session. What are you really hoping to gain? I find that setting an intention helps me gain the most from whatever I'm trying to do. So I just wanted to give you a moment to do that. Whether you choose to engage with the Pear Deck, you can type right there, or you can just write it in your notebook, or just think it in your mind. Okay, let's get started. I want to open with a little bit of background by sharing some of my personal story before we get started. I was very much that introverted perfectionist in the classroom. And I'm a processor, and I need time to formulate my response before saying it out loud. So having to raise my hand or being called on in class was really challenging for me and took a toll on me personally. It wasn't that I didn't want to contribute, it was just that I didn't have the right platform. On-the-spot thinking is never where I do my best. I am an analyzer and need time to think through things before speaking them out loud. And that's where I personally found huge solutions in tech tools. As a teacher, I've been motivated to create a classroom environment that I feel I needed when I was a student, but didn't have. For one, the technology we have readily available to us today just wasn't something I could have even dreamed of having. And while the tools themselves don't do anything magical, the possibilities they create are. Technology has transformed how I can interact with my students and how they can express themselves to me. And that's what I want to share with you today. In this session, we're going to talk about one tool in particular, and that is MOTE. Before diving into MOTE, I want to anchor this work in lesson design. For me, I'm constantly asking myself, how can we cultivate compassion in our classrooms through the intentional integration of technology into the design of our lessons? Again, it's not about just the tools themselves, but rather why we use them and how we infuse them into our classroom and our classroom culture. If you aren't too familiar with MOTE yet, it is an extension that allows you to record using voice anywhere. But it's not just your average voice recorder. MOTE provides transcription, translation, customized playback speed controls, and more. It also seamlessly integrates with all things Google Classroom, Docs, Slides, Forms, Sheets, even Gmail, making it so that recording or listening to embedded audio is never more than a click away. Let me show you how to get started. The first step is to set up your MOTE account. And I have a link for you here on my slides, which will actually give you access to premium features if you want to use that. It will take you to a page like this. You can press try MOTE for free, and you could sign in with your Google account. There's a web page for MOTE where you can do various things, but you also want to make sure that you have the MOTE Chrome extension installed so that it works best. You'll want to make sure that you have it installed and your students have it installed. Students will not need to create any specific account, but they do need that Chrome extension to be able to see all the embedded feedback that you will leave them. There are so many things that MOTE provides. The first that I want to emphasize is teacher feedback. With voice, we can powerfully communicate with clarity and tone. We can also reuse comments, which makes our process of giving feedback more efficient. We can leave more detailed feedback for students to really run with without it taking up so much of our time. It also creates an opportunity for a feedback loop. If you, for example, leave a comment on a Google Doc through voice with MOTE, then students can reply back with any follow-up questions that they might have, and they can choose to record audio or to type. So let me just show you how that works. Say that we're in a Google Doc and I'm giving some feedback to students. Here you can see that I can leave voice feedback right on the side in the comments, and I'm actually going to show you how you can also leave feedback directly in the Google Doc itself as an audio comment. Let me show you how I did that. So if I highlight any text, just like I can leave a normal comment, when you have the MOTE Chrome extension installed, you just click to record. And here we go. I can leave some voice feedback for my students. Press the check mark to complete, and then you press comment. As soon as you do that, it processes and it will actually embed the audio right there for students to listen to. They click play, and as you see, they don't need to navigate to another website. They can just listen right here. What's more is that transcription automatically comes in there, and you can, as a teacher, actually edit it if anything is inaccurate, but the transcription works super well. I love that. As we're talking about that opportunity for a feedback loop, students can then follow up with a question. They can type their question if they prefer that, or students can also choose that they prefer to reply with voice, and they have those audio capabilities as well. Let me just show you what this would look like to a viewer. If somebody does not have the Chrome extension installed, then they would have to click on the comment. It wouldn't be embedded. And when they click on that, it would open up the audio. So that's why I said it's ideal if students have the Chrome extension installed, because then everything will be embedded. So now if I look at this doc again with the Chrome extension installed, you can see now everything is embedded just like it was for me as the teacher. So again, the trick is just to make sure everybody has a Chrome extension installed. The other thing you can do is you can embed the voice notes directly in a Google Doc, just like this. How that works is you just select some text, add a hypermote, click record to start, and here we go. Just add your voice, say whatever you need to say, press check to complete, insert, and then it will embed it directly here. That same type of process works on Google Docs. It also works on Google Slides. Even you can embed in Google Forms, which I'm not going to talk a lot about today, but it allows students to record answers and teachers to record instruction. I do want to talk about the second point that I have here, which is student choice. Students can control the playback speed. There is also the transcription, so they can choose to read and or listen. How that works, the transcription happens automatically, so they can read it and listen. If they click on the edit button as they press play, they can change the playback speed. They can actually slow it down or they can speed it up depending on what they need. As well, translate to other languages if they need that. Now, let's talk about student communication. Students can present asynchronously. If you want to see some examples, I was able to write up an article about how one of the art teachers at my school used Mote for students to be able to present asynchronously. What was amazing about this was that students were able to present their artwork using voice to their classmates, and then their classmates could choose a couple of presentations to engage deeply with, to ask follow-up questions, to give constructive feedback. And it also saved a lot of time in the classroom because this was done asynchronously. So if you have time, definitely I would recommend checking out that article if you're interested. The next piece that I wanted to talk about was that students can actually build group presentations asynchronously better with Mote. So let's go ahead and open up this Google Slides. Say in this example that we want to do peer feedback. So the first step would be that the student makes a presentation, obviously, and then they share their slides so that their classmates could have commenter access. And then the peer reviewer can just hit the comment button on any slide and they'll see the option to leave a voice note, just like happened in Google Docs. So if we go ahead and leave a comment here, it is the same exact process as we saw in Google Docs. In Google Slides, you actually have one more feature here, which allows you to record directly on the Google Slides instead of as a comment. Here is an example of how this feature works. Go ahead and insert it. And then the audio is more or less attached to the slide that you can just press play on. Now, this option does not give transcription, so just know that that's not available there, but you still can adjust the playback speed. Now, when the peer review is done, the original creator of the slides can listen to the feedback and even follow up with any clarifying questions in the comments, and they can do that with either voice or text, just like I demoed in the Google Docs example. So that works for peer feedback. And then, like I was saying, that could also be a great way for students to build presentations asynchronously. Say that they're each working on it from home and they are stuck on a slide as they're creating it. And instead of just commenting like, hey, can you help me with this slide? They can leave a voice comment with a little bit more detail about what they need help building or what they might have a question about. So it's a way for them to communicate asynchronously instead of having to call each other up as they build this presentation, since they might be working at different times. Now, I've demoed a lot of Google things, but it's not just for all things Google. You can use Mote anywhere. So let's go ahead and go over to Canva, and I want to demo how well it works in Canva. I love this integration. So say that I have a newsletter that I want to send home. I want to make it more approachable, friendly, and also provide those translation features for any parents who might need to listen to the newsletter in a different language. So I can do that with Mote. Just click on the Mote Chrome extension, press the button to start recording. Here is my newsletter. In this newsletter, I want to talk about all the great things that we have been doing this month. I can title the Mote if I want to. If I need to edit any of the transcription, I can do that right there, and then just press share. Go ahead and copy the link. All you need to do is copy the link and then go back to Canva and just paste. So I just press Command V to paste. And boom, it's going to actually embed that audio. So I would probably want to clear out some space to leave that, and then parents will be able to press the play button to listen. Here is my newsletter. They can control the playback speed here, slow it down or speed it up. They also can view the transcript and they can adjust the language as needed. So I love that. So you could have a welcome, a newsletter as well. You could use this for a student activity. Say that you want students to be able to practice their spelling. So you want to say the words aloud and they practice their spelling. All you do, go ahead, bird. For this one, obviously you want to delete the transcription because that would defeat the purpose. Then you would press share, copy that link and paste it in. And then we can just place that recording right next to the bird and you can create a little spelling practice for students. Again, what we're doing here is we're really putting the control in the student's hand, allowing them to practice as many times as they need, allowing them to adjust the playback speed as they need. It could work great for our language learners, for world language classes, and for our early learners. There's so many use cases, and those are just a couple that I wanted to highlight today. Finally, on the MOTE website, they have this wonderful learning zone. So you can click on that to get many more examples and some templates to get going with. If you are in the Pear Deck and you have any questions, please go ahead and leave them here. Let me know how you're feeling about everything. If there's anything you want me to follow up on, I will absolutely do that. In closing, I just want to say that I really believe that when we thoughtfully integrate technology into our lesson design, we create more equitable and empowering classrooms for all of our learners. And I hope that some of the ideas that I shared today will resonate with you and help you do just that. A quick shout out to Michael Summers, who is the artist behind the cover of my book and obviously also inspired some of the slide design that I used today. So I just wanted to give credit where credit is due. And if you have any follow-up questions, I've left some space in the Pear Deck for that, or you can follow up with me either on social media or my website, techiemusings.com. The last slide is full of different resources that I've made on MOTE. So be sure to check that out if it's helpful. I hope, again, that this session sparked some ideas, and I look forward to seeing what you will create. Bye for now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to MoteCon 2024. I'm thrilled to participate in this event as a host and for this session, a presenter, where I'll share my top tips and ideas for incorporating MOTE to boost accessibility and inclusivity in your class. The Wakelet collection I'm about to share with you in a moment will give you all types of resources relating to MOTE and inclusivity and accessibility. But for now, I just would like to know where you're joining us from, and shout out to everyone worldwide tuning into MoteCon. I'm ready to share some MOTE magic with you all today. So without any further ado, let's get going. So this is my MoteCon 2024 Wakelet collection that I will be sharing with everybody. This will be available to you within the slides deck that I have. We start with a MOTE welcome message embed, and we're going to get going talking about maximizing MOTE for accessible and inclusive classrooms. If you'd like to take a moment to type in that bit.ly link that I have at the bottom of the screen, you could do that and follow along with me. You're going to type in bit.ly/MoteCon24AI. And we're not going to be talking so much about the traditional AI. Those are just my initials, but I'm very excited to be presenting this material to you today and hope you find at least one idea inspirational to take to your class. So a little bit about me. I'm Alex Isaacs. I'm an educational technology coach in the Long Branch Public Schools District. I'd love to connect on X and LinkedIn. You have my information there. That's all linked for you, and this will be shared. If you would like to scan that QR code or click on it if you're already in this slides deck, that will bring you to the Wakelet collection. And I've also provided you each of MOTE's different social media channels right there. I'm also a proud MOTE certified educator and MOTE ambassador, and most recently, MOTE ambassador leader, where I've had the pleasure of really collaborating with the entire MOTE team and really seeing the amazing advancements going on with this platform. So hopefully by the end of this session, you will be ready to share more accessible and inclusive materials with your students. The power of voice is real. I can speak to it personally as a former 8th grade math teacher who taught through hybrid and remote learning. The MOTE messages that I was sharing with my kids made an impact. Having that personalization was there. It made them feel a little bit more normal. So there is power in audio messages, and I'm sure that by the end of today's session, you'll see some examples of that. We're going to share impactful ideas for using MOTE. And then with those ideas, I hope that you'll be able to establish even stronger classroom cultures that are inclusive and accessible to diverse learners. That was something that was always very near and dear to my heart as a teacher and now as a tech coach. So I want to get started with a question for everybody, and feel free to drop your answers in the chat. I'd love to take a look at them. What is your biggest hope for your students? I remember very vividly in those weeks approaching the school year being very nervous about, will my kids like the cut of my jib? Are they going to get the jokes? Will they want to learn math from me? But my main hope for my students was that they felt accepted, that they felt heard in my class, and that they were willing to overcome obstacles. Now, just a side note within this Canva presentation, you can actually see in this bottom right corner what a MOTE player looks like within a Canva deck. It's interactive. You would get the full transcript available to you there. So this is just another integration that I'm showing you on the fly. So if you'd like to hear my full hope for my students, which back in the day were my kids at Red Bank Middle School, but now are the teachers and students at Long Branch Public Schools, feel free to hit that play button in the bottom right corner. So for me, when I was in the classroom, now as a tech coach, it's MOTE for enhancing accessibility and inclusivity for all learners. And I truly do mean that. I saw the impact in a multilingual classroom that I was in teaching math, but I've also seen it really have great impacts on students' speaking and listening skills. So as far as tools go, ease of use, and all of the other amazing features that the platform has recently added, I think that this is an easy extension to integrate into your practice and have your students really sharing more about themselves and discovering their own power and voice. So what I'm going to kind of do is bring you to 3 overall kind of topics and then discuss some of the use cases and ideas within them. So what I've done with this slide deck is I've kind of linked the aspect that I'm going to be talking about. So the first thing that I really utilized very extensively as a math teacher were sticky notes. And it's a sneaky little feature that can really boost accessibility, and it's very powerful because you're able to embed your voice on any website. So you can provide that additional context to students if you're sharing with them an article. If you want to differentiate, you can provide that sticky note only to students who might need that extra clarification. But you also have the opportunity to provide multilingual support with translation. So that's really the big game changer for me. How can we offer those translated transcripts to our students where they can hear directions or feedback in their native language? And that's what I'm going to show you first. So creating a sticky note, that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm on the MOTE Learning Zone, and one of the biggest celebrations that I used to have as a teacher, and now in Long Branch especially, was National Hispanic Heritage Month, something that celebrates all different types of cultural aspects of Latin Americans, everybody around the world who is of Hispanic heritage. So you have the opportunity to go to the MOTE Learning Zone and take a look at some classroom ideas. And one that stands out is this Hispanic Heritage Month by Erin, who does a great job with MOTE and has a fantastic activity here. So I have the MOTE Chrome extension installed. Now, you might not see it in the top right corner, but it is there, and now it's going to open up. Okay, so I'm using the Chrome extension in my Chrome toolbar. You don't see that, but you do see the MOTE recorder right now. They've recently added a remove background noise option that you can toggle on and off as you listen. But now you also have speech to text, which is wonderful to provide that transcript to your learners or audience. But now this is where sticky notes come into play. I'm going to click on record on URL, and you'll see that active icon come underneath. And basically what's going to happen is the MOTE that I record and share is going to bring people who have MOTE installed to this web page. So I'm going to record a brief sample message right here and just make it very short. Hello, families. I hope you'll join us in participating for this Hispanic Heritage Month activity. Hit the check mark. You will have the opportunity to change the title up top here So I could say National Hispanic Heritage Month activity, and you will also see that transcript underneath. Now, for the purposes of today, I'm just going to try to do this quickly, but that MOTE link is actually copied to the clipboard right now. So if I now were to paste this link in, so I'm going to act like now I'm just receiving this link as a listener. I'm going to paste in the MOTE link and watch what happens. You'll see this quick landing page, but with MOTE installed, I'm actually getting brought to that activity now with the option to move around the MOTE player, hide it if I choose to do so, go back to MOTE to see it a little bit more specifically. But again, if I hit that X button, it's hidden, and then I can bring it back as well. But for me, the most powerful aspect of this is that ability to hit that American flag. In my demographic, Spanish is the most spoken second language, where now that is in Spanish available to any listeners. And I can now hit play. Hello, families. I hope you'll join us in part. That's my English version, but watch what happens if I hit the play next to the Spanish flag. This is also a newer feature.
Hola, familias. Espero que se unan a nosotros.
And I have to say, I cut it a bit short because I'm trying to get in as much as I can in this short session. The accents and the quality of the bots that read messages are actually very good on this website. So imagine the ability to share activities with families through a MOTE link where it brings them directly to that page, and then you can kind of have an explanation in their native language. That would be causing homeschool connections to be going through the roof as far as I'm concerned. So I think that this is just a really easy use case to really include families in a new way that would be interactive and engaging for everybody involved, really allowing students to have better attitudes about school and making them feel more included in a classroom community. So that's just one way of doing it. You know, if I'm talking about some other opportunities, I would say, how about to celebrate an amazing grade? You're sharing a sticky MOTE on your Genesis parent portal or your Power School parent portal. You could do the opposite as well. Let's say that there are some academic concerns. You could also then share a MOTE link attached to that parent portal and then provide those instructions in multiple languages so that parents knew where to go and knew what was expected of them to check their children's grades. So sticky MOTEs to me is one of the great integrations of this platform. And if you want to kind of take a look at this in a little bit more detail, you could check out that video on this slide. Now, possibly the most impactful new feature by MOTE is one that I'm really upset a little bit with the platform. I wish I had this while I was in the classroom as a math teacher. However, I'm promoting it to the fullest now as an ed tech coach. So MOTE has offered text-to-speech for a little bit of time now, where there's that read aloud functionality. But within this month, we're in September, MOTE has added the ability now to translate those audio icons that you receive within Google Forms if you have MOTE installed. So in addition to that, students can share their voice with MOTE within a Google Form response. But that new feature by MOTE within Google Forms is one that I'm very excited to share with you. And let's take a look at it right now. So this is a MOTE enhanced exit ticket form. It's in the Wakewood collection of resources that I'm going to share with you. But this is something that I find most inspiring as a former teacher and current tech coach. When you have the MOTE Chrome extension installed, you will see this additional MOTE icon in Google Forms. And as you're creating a form, you will get this new option to go text to speech and enable that on. The platform will automatically detect the language in your form, so you don't have to worry so much about that. But the new toggle is this translation option. And if you need any clarification on the instructions, you can kind of hover over and click on the info, and MOTE offers this kind of page to you. But it's pretty straightforward, and I'm going to share how this works right now. So you don't see it right now, even though you have everything enabled. You're going to see it for people who are responding, and you're also going to see it on the preview page. So now I'm on the preview page with this Google form, and you'll now see that I have these very nice, non-obtrusive little purple MOTE player icons. So I'm just going to click to listen.
Choose one or more of the questions below to
So you can see what's happening. But not only are you getting that read aloud feature, you're also getting that highlighting of the words going along. So you're really boosting accessibility for neurodivergent and multilingual learners. But the thing that really got me was their most recent update to this feature, where I can now click and hold over that and not only get that translated transcript from my original one, but also, again, click that play button.
Elige una o más de las preguntas a continuación.
But again, check any language that you like from this very long list. So that, to me, would have made such an impact on my students. And it's why I'm promoting this new feature to the fullest, because this really makes a Google form interactive. And of course, Mote already had the ability to simply have students press that record button, and now I'm recording my message. So today I learned how to share how inspiring this new Mote feature was. Click the check mark, and now again, for people who have Mote installed, you're going to see that nice player. So this tool, to me, possibly the most impactful integration, it is the Google Form now, Read Aloud, and everything that you can do in Google Slides. But this was just a brief overview of how Google Forms are transformed with Mote as a result of these new accessibility features. So I feel this is about as good as it gets. If you're a Forms person, I would encourage you to try this out with your class and see, how your kids respond to these types of accessible materials. All right. So the last and third kind of aspect that I'm going to talk about are the integrations within Google Slides with Mote. Probably my main beginning as a user of this platform. So in addition to that traditional record option that Mote has always had, they've now added the ability to generate from text an audio message or upload some type of audio file to then extract a transcript and then be able to add it as a little purple sound icon in Google Slides. So other ideas that I want you to kind of consider, because I can see I'm kind of running out of time, replacing images. So you can actually take the Mote purple sound icon and replace that with like numbers. So if you want to do audio directions in order, you could do that. But you also can bring in those translated and transcripted messages by taking a link in from the Notepad. So I'm going to kind of discuss this with you and show you some examples very quickly. So this was a mini project that I did with my kids. And you could see that this Mote purple sound icon, when I click on it, you could see that it has the full transcript underneath. Whoops. The full transcript underneath that could be translated and responded to. That's because I brought in that Mote hyperlink that I showed you earlier with sticky Motes. But this was the thing that I actually had a lot of fun with. I'm going to go to this project checklist, and you see all these different Mote icons on this screen. And I'm going to zoom in a bit. So I'm just going to tell you the variety and quality, I think I mentioned this earlier, of the Mote bots that read the instructions that you generate are really stellar. So when you have the Mote app installed, I had a tough time with that one there, and you click on the Mote recorder in Slides, you'll see the ability to record as usual, but now you can add in text, and you can then produce voice with all of these different voice options, and they're good. So I encourage you, check those out, spend a little time. And then you can also choose the speed. So this is where you would simply type in your message, and then you would get that Mote, as you can see in these different purple icons. You also have that option to upload, and it's not just MP3 files. You have different options included that you can do. So for this one, I'm just going to say, welcome, class. You might type out something a little bit more advanced, but you know what? Let's actually do this. Let's go back to this slide, and I want to provide audio instructions for each of these steps. So I'm going to highlight that text and copy it. I'm going to go back to the Mote recorder and go generate, paste that in. Let's say my voice is tired. Let's say that it's late at night and I don't want to wake anybody up in my family. This is going to be the way to add voice to your slides, make them more accessible for your students without having to do it yourself, so to speak. So let's play it, and I'll show you the quality of this.
Select a partner you'd like to work with and join forces.
I don't feel like that's too glaring of anything that sounds remotely out of place. I'm going to hit insert. You'll get this little waiting screen, but it doesn't take very long. And there it is. There's your purple Mote sound icon. I'm going to bring this over to number 1. And now again, I kind of brought up that tip really briefly earlier. You can now go replace image, choose any of these different options, and have that purple sound icon be changed to something else. So again, if you wanted to make this like a follow directions in order, you could choose numbers as your replaced image and really make your slides more accessible. So with slides, I was giving answer keys, I was giving audio explanations to concepts in math, but you can really make this your own. It's really a matter of your creativity, how far you want to take it. And this is really just a great option with generate and upload to add those audio instructions, and without really having to use your own voice if you're looking for something in a quick pinch. So I would definitely encourage you, any instructions that are typed out, paste those in and use generate as an option within Google Slides. It'll really enhance your slide deck. All right, so we're reaching the end at this point. I'm going to share this tab. And if you would like to get this Wakelet Resource Hub that I'm going to go over with you very briefly in a moment, please scan that QR code. If you are in on this Canva deck, you can click on that in order to be brought to it. I had such a great time presenting on inclusivity, accessibility, and if you go to that Wakelet collection, you'll hear some strategies for creativity as well. So I'm just very thankful. I really had such a great time. I love presenting on Mote. It's such a wonderful platform. Again, please reach out to me at Mr. Isaac's Math if you have any questions or you'd like to collaborate on any ideas. Okay, so I'm going to go very quickly. I basically created it for novices of the platform to start. We have an introduction to Mote along with 60 days of Mote VIP access for new users. I also linked you to the Chrome Web Store to download it. These are 3 YouTube playlists that are excellent to fully get a scope of what Mote offers in many different avenues, grade levels. So I would definitely recommend kind of clicking on this and scrolling through the different videos here as well. I have the templates that I shared with you within this slide deck previous that I shared with you, but you also have some different examples that include creativity and app smashing with Google Slides and Google Docs, Canva and Wakelet, and you have resources including the Mote Learning Zone, joining the Mote community, Mote's YouTube page, and Mote's Certified Educator course. So I loved kind of introducing some Mote magic to you today. I know I kind of rushed it near the end, but I wanted to kind of touch on everything. I hope you find this collection and all of the resources that I've kind of shared with you today helpful. And I'm sure that the Mote madness is absolutely palpable at this point in our audience. So I just had such fun presenting in my 3rd MoteCon this year, and a special shout out to Britt, Mackenzie, Shirley, Eleni, and Will. It's been a pleasure to collaborate with each of you throughout the last year, and I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this fantastic event. I wish everyone who's joining us a great day and successful school year, and be sure to keep watching all the Mote magic at MoteCon 24. Bye for now.
My name is Erin Comninaki. I'm so excited that you are joining us at MoteCon, and I'm even more excited to be part of MoteCon this year. So let's get started in this super fast-paced session on Mote and how you can use it to make your classroom just 1% more accessible. I'm going to show you just a couple newer features so you can up the accessibility in your room just by 1%, okay? We'll reach for the stars, but if we can do 1% better, we're going in the right direction. So what you can see here, and I'm going to point the wrong way. Okay, I kind of got it. What you see here is a 1-pager that I've developed. It's all hyperlinked, and I will be sharing it with you. And I just want to go through a couple of the things that I have hyperlinked here about how to use Mote to make your classroom more accessible. So again, I'm framing this through the lens of universal design for learning. So I kind of thought about Mote and how I would use it to have more choice and representation, and how Mote can support action and expression and engagement in my classroom. And I am still in the classroom, so I am using these with kids. And so when I tell you that it's really quick, trust me, it is last minute some of the times, as we know, when we get feedback from students, they don't get something for the next lesson. And so we are creating something on the fly. We don't want barriers to making our learning experiences for students. We don't want to make barriers for them, but we don't want to create more work for us at the last minute either. So we want to do what's best for kids, and Mote allows us to do what's best for kids without eating up too much of our time. So let me minimize myself. I am not the star of the show here. So I want to go through, let's start out with representation. So why I love MOTE is because students are able to change to their preferred language, transcriptions, and audio translations. And MOTE can also be provided as a scaffold or a pronunciation support for some of our students. So let's see if I can find my cursor here. And let's open up a couple forms and docs that I have. So first of all, there has been a big upgrade in MOTE since the last MoteCon, and that is the text-to-speech feature within Google Forms, as well as the translation. So I know that in the past, teachers, when I have spoken to them, they love MOTE and they love that they are making their classroom more accessible, but they always say it takes a lot of time to record every question. And then it takes even more time to record every answer choice. Well, that barrier has been completely eliminated with one of the new MOTE updates. So you can see here, I have the MOTE extension installed, and I have this Google form where I have not used MOTE on it. I made a copy of it. It is currently MOTE free. Well, let me show you how quick it is. We are like 3 minutes into this session. We're going to be less than 4. So I must have turned it on at some point, but I'm turned it off. This is what it'll appear when you open it up. Text to speech, keeping it in English, going to turn translation on, and I'm going to add. Now, it will take a second, it's saving it, it's thinking through, it's reading everything here. But what you're going to see up here is this audio MOTE icon for every part of this Google form. So while I'm talking this through, MOTE is thinking it's going to give me audio for the title, audio for the description, audio for the question on all the answer choices. So you can see here, doesn't look much different on my end. You're like, this did not work. Well, hold on. We're going to click and get that student link. I'm going to open up a new tab and open the student version. And then you're going to see those icons that I was just telling you about appear for every part of it. But the great thing is with this new update, it's not just audio. It is that text to speech where the words are going to be highlighted as they're spoken. So you can see, that barrier has been eliminated for the teacher in terms of time, and you have just eliminated a barrier for students that need audio. That quick. I love this. If I didn't say it already, I love this. Now, I don't know that I changed the setting in this recording, so I apologize in advance if you're going to sit here in an awkward silence for 5 seconds, but I want to play the audio. Even if you can't hear it, what you are going to be able to see is as the audio plays, you'll know it's playing because it's going to highlight the text that it's reading. So I hope you were able to hear that, but if not, you could see that on my end, it was playing, the words were highlighting. So now I've got audio for all that, but I don't know if you saw when I hovered, hold to translate. So you know how I moved the toggle over so that I allowed for translation. So now I'm a student. Up to this point in my little small town, we've got up to 3 languages outside of English in our classrooms. And I know a lot of you are like, 3, Erin, that's nothing. I've got 6. Well, 3 is big for us and 3 is big for our teachers. Our teachers are just now learning some of these English language skills, multilingual skills, how to teach multilingual students in our general education classrooms. And so if I can teach them a quick tool or a quick trick, it is making their day and it's making the day of students. So let me hold this down. And you can see I've translated it in the past, right? I translated the original form of this, and you can see it went and it saved it to the copy. So that's why you're seeing it already translated, because I made a copy of the one that I had provided for students. Isn't that pretty incredible? I did not know it did that. So let's say I'm going to translate it. It's going to translate both my transcription and my audio. I'm sorry again if you're sitting in 5 seconds of. So you can see there, both the transcription and the audio now are in the preferred language. So I can now have the same Google form for all the students in my class. And I am now on the general education side of things in the middle school English, but this is my 21st year of teaching, I believe. And this is my first year on the gen ed side. Before this, I was a special education teacher. And do you know how many different Google forms I had to make for all of my students to make sure every student had what they needed or had a preferred language if they needed that. And now this was done, I don't know, what, two minutes maybe. And a lot of it is the student learning to use the tool and doing it themselves. So I also just wanted to come back to something that has been around with Mote for a long time, but let's not forget the ways we've always used Mote. Let's continue using them in these great ways. I just took a sentence from that Google form just to have something. And I don't want us to forget about the power of hypermotes in terms of representation as well. So this sentence here has a lot of vocabulary. And if I highlight something in a Google Doc and then I click on this like hyperlink with a mote, it's a hypermote. And if I click on it, I can then, all I do is I say the word that I've highlighted perhaps, or I give a definition, or if there's a reminder that I want to provide that student for that word, I click on it. And then students get that hypermote. Oops, sorry about that. So I can insert it. And this is typically where I would, oh, hold on. That's a me problem. That's not a Mote problem. That's an Erin problem. There are a lot of those. Diverse. So let's keep it simple. Let's do it how I would do it in class. I'm talking all over this thing. All right, so now I have said the word diverse. Students can then, you see it hyperlinked, and students can now hear it. They can also translate it. So if they hear the word diverse, they play the word diverse. Sometimes it is helpful for our students to translate it into their preferred language. And then they'll be like, oh, and they can make that connection between the two languages and the vocabulary. So hypermotes, let's not forget about that. If I go back to my original slide, I've got a couple minutes left. Action and expression, how providing choice to students and how they respond. So let me go to, where do I want to show this? And reflective practice. So first, I guess, let's go to the reflective practice. Oops, sorry. Let me use this template. This is actually on the Mote website. And this is actually the directions. But if I go to the Mote website, I have this Compass Tools protocol. Let's see if I can find it real quick for you all. It's in the learning zone under classroom ideas. Maybe this mistake is great on my part because now you can see all the classroom ideas that are here for Mote. So one of the things is this thinking routines with Mote. And they're all different types of thinking routines, right? Here we go. But this one is a north, south, east, west. And students can reflect on work. They can reflect on their first interim in a specific class. But what will pop up is a Google slide. And what this can do is allow students to address concerns, explore opportunities, asking for resources, goal setting, whatever you want your 4 points to be. They can be reflective. Now, this was my first year doing we just ended our interims. We are 4.5 weeks into the school year already. And I actually had students complete one of these for how they felt, how English was going so far this year. And some students decided to just type out a response. Other students gave me audio feedback. This was not collaborative. The template that you see here could be collaborative, where students add, you can make this collaborative or individual. They would add their own mote. So I think I've got time. I think it's worth opening this up. I just want to make sure that you know how to add the audio to a Google slide. There are tons of great presentations during this MoteCon and so many experienced educators. I am sure this has been shared with you already, but just on the off chance, when you open up your Google slide and you have that Mote extension, what will pop up is your Mote icon to record the audio. So it's just taking a moment here. So while that is loading, let's not spend more time. I told you this is going to be like a fast pace, right? Oh, there it goes. It's going to just switch on over to something else. So once you open up your slide, you can record your Mote. But you know how I said some students wanted to type? You can also generate. So if I wanted to generate some audio for students, this is a fairly new feature too. I can type in something and generate it. I use this for comment banks when I'm replying to student in terms of feedback as well. I can copy and paste a comment and put it right in and then insert. So I can generate it, or I can dictate, and it will make that little Mote icon and the audio. So it's going to stick it right in here in Google Slides. I only have like a couple minutes, so I want to move on to one or two more things in the short time I have. So this is another Google slide and how I'm using it this year. I just wanted to share this specifically because I think it might be a little different. It's different for me in terms of how I've used Mote in the past. So I just wanted to share it with you. I'm really trying to get students to be more reflective. You can see on that protocol, but also in terms of not just how they're feeling about the class or our class community, but also about the standards of learning and where they think they fall in progression, and then where I think they fall in a progression, and kind of having those conferences together. So what students do is they can put a dot where they feel they are within this standard. And then I'm encouraging them to record some audio feedback about why they are there. And then in turn, I will respond to this audio feedback with how I feel. Now, if I had the time, and I've used this now one time with a set of classes, I think what I would do is I would actually have my progression chart. I would have students place their audio, and then I would make a separate location for my feedback down below so that we could see what students were saying versus teachers. Or I would make a bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I would have a bar for teachers and a bar for students, if that makes sense. But again, that's all about this continuous loop of feedback, and it provides students choice in how they want to respond and communicate back and forth with the teacher. So I'm going to leave you the link with this one pager here. And I hope you click on some of the links. The Mote Minutes goes right to the YouTube channel. The templates and ideas will take you to the Mote website. There's so much here, and I'm sure you've learned tons already at MoteCon. I hope I have encouraged you a little to see how easy and quick this is and how you can make your classroom just a little more accessible, or a lot more accessible for your students. So thank you so much for joining me, and keep on moting.
Welcome back to MoteCon 2024, and I'm proud and thrilled to introduce our next guest. Our next guest is Shirley, and Cheryl is the Director of Digital Learning at Leo Academy Trust and is the Pearson Silver Teaching Award winner for digital innovation. Now, the Leo Academy Trust is one of the most innovative and successful academy trusts in the United Kingdom. And the Academy Trust is like a charter school system in the US, but they are non-profit organizations that run networks of schools. And in Cheryl's role, she's responsible for identifying and supporting digital tools to roll out across their network of schools. Prior to taking her role as Director of Digital Learning, Cheryl worked in the classroom for almost a decade across a number of schools in London. And in recent years, she's been at the forefront of a piece of work into pedagogical technology, shortened to PedTech, which was really showcasing Leo Academy's success and approach to deploying digital technology and one-to-one devices in the classroom. And we've invited Cheryl to talk more about that research because there's a heck of a lot to learn from it directly, but also we're hoping that other schools can be inspired to direct their own research programs to share their own best practices. So without further ado, welcome Shirley.
Hi Will, thanks for having me.
No, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you.
No problem at all.
This is your first MoteCon.
It is my first MoteCon.
And we find I can see, I know you're back at school. You've been back a few days. It's been a bit, has it been a chaotic start to the school year?
It's been a very busy start as always, but yeah, children are starting to settle and it's been really nice.
Fantastic. All right. So today we're going to talk a bit about the PedTech research report, the background to it, how it happened and what you've learned from it, because we were really happy earlier this year to be the sort of a sponsor for one of the days where you showcase the report and the school's approach, the network's approach to other schools and districts or academies across the UK, right? So you're really trying to evangelize what's working well for you at Leo.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, one of the things for us was that we started our one-to-one Chromebook project while I was in class back in sort of 2019. And obviously a lot has happened since then. I think, we'd been through a pandemic and our children had started to really develop really good digital skills. And I think deep down, we knew that it was making a difference, but obviously sometimes that's never enough, like to just say, well, we know it's making a difference. And often we were being asked kind of, well, how do you know? Is your data showing it and what's happening there in terms? And I think it's really difficult with technology to be able to say that that's the sole reason that's made the difference, because in education there's so many factors into kind of what causes learning to happen. And so it was quite difficult, and it was quite a difficult area to measure, particularly when you're spending quite a lot of money and funding on that as well. So I suppose that's kind of where it all began, about thinking about how could we measure the impact of technology in a way that was really kind of focused. And we were actually at BET back in 2022.
BET, for those who don't know, sorry to jump in. BET, for those who don't know, is the British Educational Technology Conference here in London.
That's the one. And our CEO, our sort of chief of office, he was presenting a bit about some of the things that we'd been doing during the pandemic. And there was a lady called Dr. Fiona Smith, who was in the audience of that event. And was sort of sitting there nodding along to what Phil was saying at that event. Afterwards, she sort of came and spoke to us and sort of said, I'm doing some educational research in this area and I'm really interested in kind of what you guys are saying about. And it was mainly around us talking about how it's not necessarily about the tools that are making the difference. It's about how those children are learning in the classroom and how the technology is enhancing that for teachers and students alike. And I think everything she said was completely right. And I think at the time we were very focused on creating a policy that was very focused on technology for learning. And actually, the more we thought about it, the more we were talking about teaching and learning. And we really wanted to be able to captivate that. So by having conversations after BET with Fiona, we thought about asking her to come and kind of commission a piece of research in this area, which has led to our Changing Learning, Changing Lives project. And we did this for a whole academic year. So 12-month project with Fiona, where it involved people from all kinds of levels of our organisation, from people like myself, but also class-based teachers, senior leaders in our schools, and everybody kind of had an area of responsibility, and that involved a whole range of things, from classroom visits, interviews with parents, interviews with teachers, interviews with support staff, so many different things, and also just sort of unpicking a lot of the data sets that we had, end of key stage data to sort of see how, academic performance, etc. And the report, as you can see on the screen, is available for anybody to read. It's split up into kind of different sections for different audiences, I guess. So those that are kind of looking in more the research kind of area, that sections 1, 2 and 3 are really probably useful to you about how we kind of put the report together. Sections 4 and 5 is probably more of the journey. So again, if you don't know about the Leo Academy Trust, kind of some of the things some examples of tools and things that children have said, etc. And then the last section is all about impact and really unpicking data and how that's happened. And I'd like to share a couple of the findings with you really today.
Absolutely. I was going to say, please do. I mean, I think this is important. I think it's a helpful overview. Detail is there for folks who want to learn, but I think what we're going to really focus on is building the case for this research. And as a quick summary, what you learned along the way. Obviously, we're thrilled that MOTE is part of that, but as you said, it's less about the tools and more about the approach to learning and teaching in the classroom. And I think having spent a little time in Leo, the thing that I was struck by, and others who visit are struck by, is the sincere warmth and commitment to using technology and seeing the benefit of technology in the classroom. And I suspect that there are many folks out there who are trying to make that case in your school. And I think I just want one of the reasons to share this is to show a message that, yes, it can be achieved. And there's a fantastic kind of culture of support around technology at Leo. So I'm going to pop out and leave it to you, Cheryl. I'll come back in a couple of minutes to round things up. So thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you, Will. So just to kind of give you a bit more of a flavour, really, is that some of the things that we found through the report was to look at our sort of reading, writing and maths outcomes at the end of our trust is all primary, from sort of 4 to 11, but these are the end of our key stage results at the end of key stage 2. So when they leave us at 11, they're expected to have a national standard. And just by looking at this, our data shows that when we began our programme in 2019, the kind of national average, the national picture across the UK was that results were slipping, and that was due to lots of different reasons in terms of the pandemic, etc. But what we've found that through the nature of our programme is that our results are only growing, which I think has been, and I think when you go through what is classed as an experimental phase, it can be quite daunting for people to think that, if you're a really consistently good school, that could really affect, your data or your results. But actually, we've definitely found kind of the opposite there. And year on year, our results are only getting stronger. And, like I said, it's impossible to say that that's only to do with the approach to technology that we have, because we have excellent teaching and learning, etc. as well. But what we do know is that, it's never implicated through that. The other one is that obviously we measure greater depth as well. So children who are working above the national expectations for their age. And again, year on year, our results are significantly higher than our national standard. And I've got some examples to kind of show you kind of what our approach actually is that might lead to those kind of that kind of data. But for me, I think this is the most kind of important part of the report and the most outstanding, I guess, findings from the report, and something that I'm really, really proud of Leo for is our level of inclusion across our schools. And I think one of the things for me is that when you walk into a classroom, quite often you can usually see those children that have those special needs, that have those significant needs and need lessons adapted for them. Whereas I think you'll see in our schools that when you walk into our classrooms, that quite often, because of the technology that's available to them and everybody's working on a device, that though, you know, it is impossible to see those children. And although those adaptations are there, you know, they're much more subtle. And creating those classrooms where children feel free to, you know, if they need a pair of headphones, they can go over and get them, or they can have them there at their fingertips. But I think when you walk into a classroom where technology is there, everybody is utilising that technology in a totally different way. And you can be looking, you know, you can look at one child, and this is what we did during the report and the research, was that I spent quite a lot of time in classrooms while we were taking part in the report findings. And I was able to kind of look at one child using their device and then look at another child who was sitting next to them, but what they were doing was entirely different. And it all became about giving them options and choices on how to access that learning. And I think, you know, here in the UK, we have a system where if a child does have a special educational need, you apply for something called an ECHP, an educational healthcare plan, which gives them funding, I guess, for, you know, for extra support, I guess. And we also have children who go on our sort of register to say that they do have sort of significant needs. So, for example, maybe your dyslexic children, as an example. So children who may have dyslexia might not need an ECHP, but they still have a sort of level of need that needs to be supported in the classroom. But what we found throughout the report is that year on year, the amount of children that we're having to put on that SEND register is lowering year on year. And although the number of children with ECHPs is very similar, we still have children with high needs, and those needs need to be addressed. And they have, you know, they do still need adult support, etc. We also have a lot of children who are more self-sufficient as a result of having technology. And as I said, I think just take a minute to look at that picture on the right-hand side and think about your classrooms and the children who have needs in your class. What does it generally look like, you know? And I think quite often here in the UK, schools get stuck in that sort of third circle where, you know, they need to group those children together, and they need to, you know, have additional resources for them in the classroom, like on the table, or they need an adult there to support those children. And as I said, I think what technology has enabled us to do is move into that fourth box now. So when you enter that room, you can't see those children. They are there, they're working. Those teachers know those children really well, and that level of access is there. But those accessibility tools in the classroom allows them to succeed. And I think that for me has been the biggest part of our whole project. And yeah, like I said, I'm just so proud of that. And I think, you know, I think this is the part here, is that, you know, it is technology in the classroom is necessary for some, but it's useful for everybody. And I think, you know, the way that we use technology across Leo Academy Trust is that, you know, is exactly that, is that it is helping everybody. But there are some children who really do need that, you know, those supports where they're able to use things like voice notes, and they're able to use speech to text, etc. And so, you know, not by just giving them that device so they stand out and they have that stigma attached to a device, and actually giving it to everybody so everybody can utilize it and use it in a way that works best for them. And I think when I talk about technology, and I do this quite a lot, you know, I go to conferences and I speak to people where people are a bit more reluctant about technology in the classroom. There's often misconceptions, I think, that happens. I think you have to have a really good strategy to make sure that this doesn't happen. But I think, you know, one of the things that, you know, we often get asked by teachers and leaders and parents, etc., is that just because they use technology, does that mean that they don't do any writing anymore? Or does it mean their handwriting is going to get worse? Or, you know, and I think for me, it's always about explaining that, you know, it's not about the writing at all. And actually, our children across Leo have amazing handwriting and have significant, you know, you can see there in the picture, like that, you know, that child there is, you know, has got really good handwriting and great speed at being able to do it. And I think what's really important is the parts that come before that piece of writing, to prepare them to be confident to go away and write and do it sufficiently. So I think that's where technology can be so powerful. So just here in the picture, you can see on the left-hand side that, you know, the children have been collaborating together in the previous lesson, got all their ideas together. They've they've come up with ideas. Maybe they've looked at different word types and they've come up with different adjectives to describe whatever it is they're writing. And when it comes to that writing, the Chromebook there is being used as an aid and a guide to support that child and to make that child feel confident to do that piece of writing. They're not stuck there with like a blank page syndrome about what do I write. It also becomes about, on the right hand side here, again, it becomes about the oracy part of it as well. And one of the biggest things when it comes to writing, a lot of the children find it really difficult to construct the sentence, and there's a lot going on when it comes to writing in a child's head. They're being told, right, I've got to think of a sentence. I've got to think of I've been told my target today is to look at adjectives, but I'm always got to think about my capital letters and full stops. And, don't forget that. And there's just so many things. And it can be so overwhelming. And I think actually by utilising technology and being able to use things like voice recording, children can come up with that sentence. And then when it does come to the writing, they're able to listen back to it. They're able to go, I really like that sentence. And for some children, just listening to that sentence and writing it in their book is probably all they're going to be able to do. But there'll be other children that will listen to that sentence and go, okay, I like that sentence, but I'm going to make that better now. And there'll be other children in that class that will read that sentence and go, okay, I want to add some more things because my teacher's told me that this is my target this week. And so I think, in terms of things like vocabulary and those higher order thinking that goes on during a piece of writing can be huge. I've noticed you've come, Will, so I'm going to hand back over to you.
No, I just popped in because when we spent a little time with one of your schools back in May, and we spent some time in the classroom with students, and they were integrating Mote into their story writing process. And I was just so thrilled by that, and it was such a wonderful application of Mote, because they were, as you say, it wasn't about working totally on analog or digital. It was using this digital tool in service of a kind of creative goal, and I really love that, and I want to definitely, I need to follow up, and I want to work with you on a case study around that, because I thought that was such a cool idea, and I don't think we've ever showcased that. So this report and this whole philosophy, and obviously, you're out there championing, and it sounds like there is a movement. You are having an impact, and you're seeing other schools look at the results and try and apply it. I guess, what's the one lesson or one recommendation that you would make to anybody thinking about, making a stronger case, or even like looking to create a research program around what their school is doing? What would be the one thing you would recommend people to do?
I think it's just to quantify what you want to achieve. I think that's really important. And I say that, with loads of experience, but I think we never set out to achieve what we did achieve with tech. I think at first, when we first started out, it was about developing children's digital skills and things like that. And I think what we found through doing the report is that there was so much that has happened as a result of this one-to-one project. So I think it's about really articulating what your focus is, if that's where you're starting out, and just thinking really carefully about that.
I think one thing that came across to me was that there is a strategy for what the trust is trying to achieve, and technology fits clearly within that strategy. And therefore, when you go and ask a teacher about technology, they can relate that to the overall goal of the school and their individual goals as a teacher. I feel like that helps with the buy-in and consistency of approach across the schools that you work in.
Yeah, I think, like I said, when we started out, we thought about technology being the bit of this add-on. We were in a phase where you had to go through that, I think, to start with. But I think hopefully our report will help people not have to do that, because we've done it, and there's lots of on the report, there's lots of kind of lessons learned that we've, it's not been plain sailing. Things have happened, and I think we'd like to think that we could move schools on quicker as a result of us being on a longer journey. But I think definitely now, when you walk into our schools, it's just good teaching and learning, and technology enables it. And I think, anything that you think of that makes good teaching, if I asked you to write a list of all the things that make a good lesson, all of those things could feature technology in one way or another. Yeah.
Fantastic. Cheryl, I loved hearing the overview. It's a great story to share, and I hope others out there I'm sure others out there will take something away from this and hopefully build their own case for research and sharing their own best practices. So, thank you again for joining us today for MoteCon, and your first MoteCon. Yay! And for everyone who's joined, stay with us. We'll be back in a minute or two with our next session.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fantastic MoteCon 2024 session. I'm your host, Alex Isaacs, EdTech coach in the Long Branch Public Schools District and proud Mote Ambassador leader, and I'm thrilled to welcome our next guest to the stage. While teaching in the classroom, Amy Dubois had an enthusiasm for thoughtfully choosing technology to support language acquisition. Now she enjoys sharing that same passion for language learning with her colleagues in a coaching capacity. Let's welcome Amy to the stage. Amy, it's an absolute pleasure to meet you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Alex, and thank you for the introduction.
Well, I'm very excited for your session today. I know language learning and language acquisition is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart and many of our other Mote maniacs out there. So very excited for your session. I'll be backstage taking some notes and just really listening in on your stellar shares. So bye for now, and very excited to be listening in.
Thank you so much, and welcome everybody to my session about empowering your students for oral speaking in the language classroom. As Alex said, I'm Amy Dubois. I'm a French language educator. I've been in the classroom for 15 years, and now I'm a coach to other teachers in our region. And I work with grades from grade 4 all the way up to grade 12. Mote has become a tool that we have used within all of those grades, and it has a real benefit from elementary to middle school all the way up to secondary. In my role, I focus on literacy and integrating technology to support language. So just some background information about Mote if you're brand new to it. Mote is a Chrome extension, and it integrates easily within the Google Suite, which is what we use here. Super easy to use, and as a language teacher, what I love about it is that it creates a practice space for students. They can go in and practice the language structures. That in turn increases their confidence, which will lead to them participating voluntarily more often in your language class. When you go to use Mote, it looks like this little icon where I'm toggling up in the screen. You simply click on this in Google Slides, and it will open this window. And there's 3 different options in it. I've used it most often just to simply record my voice so that students can hear the language structures. The generate and the upload are 2 newer features. I love the generate because you can type out your information and it works in French. It will generate the audio of what you have typed and it will pronounce it well in French. So it's another opportunity for students to hear a different voice other than your own speaking the language structures. Next, I'm going to share with you some practical ideas of how you can use Mote in your classroom. I've used it a lot when preparing for substitutes. Now, I don't know about you, but here we have a substitute shortage. So it can be tricky to get a substitute, let alone for a specialty subject such as French. And often our substitutes do not have any French speaking ability. So using MOTE to prepare directions in French so that students can hear what you're saying is ideal. And then you can also use it to generate recordings of key points of your routine, key information, songs, etc. So here I'm going to share with you a template that I've used in my language classroom. It goes with the routine of our message du jour, our daily message. And I have recorded a MOTE, which is represented in this icon down below, to have myself reading the message. So I had a substitute in that day who didn't speak any French. I explained my routines to the substitute, and then I just said, okay, click the MOTE button and it will read the message for your class. Another way is to generate messages to your students if you need to address an instance. Now, one time I was out for a few days from my French classroom, and on the second day, the substitute wrote and said, Amy, the students left the class just in a disgrace. And I said, okay, let me work on that. So I left a MOTE to my students with this image, and I reminded them of our classroom expectations and that I was disappointed in their behavior. After that, if I knew I was going to be out, I just had to show this screen and said, students, do I need to leave a MOTE about this? And they'd say, no, miss, we'll leave the classroom respectful. So there's a variety of ways that you can use it to help prepare when you know you're going to be out of the classroom. Another MOTE idea is for creating assignments. And here's one unit that my teacher was doing about pastimes in her grade 8 core French class. All of these images relate to answers that were generated by students before they went to this assignment. So the students were already familiar with all of these language structures. I use Flat Icon, which is an awesome website to generate these images, and it represents information and structures that the students were already familiar with. Now, I find that sometimes students can go down the rabbit hole of taking a long time to choose their images. So by the teacher preparing this in advance, it can save a lot of time. And I understand that because I also go down that rabbit hole. So with this template, what students would do is they'd be able to leave answers about their opinions for pastime. So for instance, they might say, I like to go horseback riding. They could even use the negative structure. I don't like to go skiing. They can talk about what their classmates like to do. John and Samantha love to play video games. So you're using a variety of different structures on this template to show their understanding of the vocabulary and to show that they've been listening to their classmates as well. Here's an example from a grade 9 core French class. This teacher was doing a unit on music. And what I liked about this is that the teacher had left some MOTEs with her authentic answers. So she had said that she likes the music of Taylor Swift. And then I forget what she said for the second one. But by leaving the answers, she was giving the students a model to go on. So that if there were some students who were like, oh, I can't remember how that structure begins, they could listen to her answer, and then that would help them do their own work. And as I mentioned, Flat Icon is an awesome resource to find images. Another MOTE idea is when you want the students to find the images that are authentic for what they want to express, and then use MOTE to narrate them and to record their answers that go with it. So this is a project in our grade 6 intensive French class. And this is a special program where students are in French over 5 months. And this teacher had created an assignment called Mon Selfie to document the learning as a portfolio over the 5 months. So I'm going to click into that. I'm going to share that tab. Okay, so in this project with Mon Selfie, the students were learning and reviewing structures that they had learned in previous classes, and as they were building on that knowledge, they would leave MOTEs to go with it. So it covered the learning over the entire course of the intensive French program. So they would write out their sentence, they would find an image to go with it, and then they would record a MOTE to express their authentic answer. And this is a great way of covering the oral, the reading, and also the writing, which makes up our literacy cycle. Okay, another MOTE idea is to make a resource so that students can hear the structures at home. Great if you have students in your specific language class, but also for English as additional language. And I would always put the resource on Google Classroom so that when they're home, they could listen and practice. So in my core French class, I started to realize that the students were pretty good at answering the questions with their answers, but they really struggled with asking the question. I made this resource for them with the images that are associated with the questions, with me asking the question. So in this image, I would ask, comment t'appelles-tu, comment ça va down below, and so on. And then I asked students to go home and to listen to the questions and then to practice asking them to their family members, which was a great way of bringing French in to their home and having a chance to practice it with support. Another MOTE idea is using it for reading. Now, when you have a class of 30 students, it can be tricky to have time to read to every student or have your students read to you. So what I started doing when I was in the classroom is that I would have my stronger students use MOTE, and then I would work with the students who needed support. Often I would take just a screenshot or a quick picture of the cover of the book. I would put it into Google Slides, and then I would have students who were working independently to, based on their ability, either read the entire book or to read a section of their choice. And it's important to note you have 5 minutes in a single MOTE. So for our elementary, that was plenty of time for them to read the entire book. But for the older students, they could leave more than one MOTE. Another MOTE idea is when it comes time to projects. Projects is another area where it's hard to listen to the entire class present their projects. So what I started doing was I would use MOTE to present half of the class. They would practice on there and they would do their presentations on MOTE. And then the other half of the class would present in front of the entire class. And then I would switch so that those who had used MOTE to present would then be presenting in front of the class. And that gave different variety of ways to present, gave everybody overall the chance to practice presenting in front of the class and to have that experience. And then they could also use MOTE as a practice space before they presented. I also loved using MOTE to create an audio sticker. So what I would do is I would record my MOTE, and then when you click on the MOTE, you can replace it with different images. And if you upload your Bitmoji into your MOTE, you can actually change it from the purple speaker icon into a Bitmoji of your choice. So this one, when I click on it, says, "This is such a great idea." This is such a great idea. It's an easy way of leaving some feedback. That's a kind of fun visual way for your students. And your students will love it when you change up your Bitmoji outfit, you change your hair, they notice all of that, and it just helps with engagement. I like to make one Google slide full of different Bitmoji images with a variety of different recordings to give some specific feedback. And it's the stuff that you say over and over again, but it's all in one spot. It's just a simple matter of bringing it into your student work to leave them some guidelines and some feedback. This is such a great idea. Let's say it again. Another idea is in Google Forms is to use MOTE to record exit tickets. And I have to put a plug in for the MOTE Learning Zone, which is where I pulled this idea. So in the MOTE Learning Zone, I came across this enhanced exit ticket. And when you click on it, it has a green light, a yellow light, and a red light to record their learning experience. So they can simply use a MOTE to record what they learned today that they really understood. They had different questions or uncertainties or a new perspective. And then the red light is where their challenges were. And then you can collect that as a piece of assessment and also to guide your next teaching steps. And they would simply click on the long answer and then click on the MOTE here to record their messages. So I took that and I took that idea and I downloaded it and I converted it into French for the same idea. And all of these templates that I've mentioned, I'll make available for teachers who are interested so that you can take it, tweak it for what works for you, and use it in your own classes. Another idea I obtained from the Learning Zone is an idea that incorporates some movement into your class. So I really liked this idea. It was from Class Discussions with MOTE. And I took this slide where basically they created a spectrum. So what I did in my classes is first I would make my class, the physical class, the spectrum, and I would ask a question. So for instance, if I asked, do you believe in aliens? Okay, then I would have my students get up and move. They sit too much during the day. It's great to get them up and moving. And then they would go to the part of the room where you've designated with the different labels. So if they do believe in aliens, they would go to the wall that you've said, yes, that's where the area where we believe in aliens. If you don't believe in aliens, they go to the back of the wall that represents no. If they didn't know, they could go to the middle. And then while they're up and standing and out of their chairs, you could have a discussion with them and talk to them about, why do you believe in aliens? Do you have any proof? Etc., etc. And then have them go back to their computers, to this slide, and have them record motes. And they can physically click and drag the mote, and they can place it on the spectrum. And they can record their answers, but they can also record their classmates' answers too as separate motes expressing what they had heard to show they were listening and how they've synthesized the information. Another movement with MOTE idea is to use these comprehension or task cards. So let's take this one here, which is all about culture. Imagine that you have these cards posted around the room where one task card asks them to describe their personal cultural identity. Another task card asks them to describe what kind of cultural meals they eat at home. Another task card asks to describe a celebration or festival they celebrate. So the students would get up, go to one of these task cards, have a conversation with their classmates. Conversation where they're face-to-face, eye contact, they're talking, they're listening. These are such great skills we need to promote. And then they go back to their computers and you've arranged these task cards onto a Google Slides and they record notes that go with their answers and also the answers of their classmates. All of these task cards I will also make available for you to make and take. And Canva has a ton of task cards that you can look for. And Canva also has a new feature where you can go in and you can switch the language of whatever templates you find. So imagine you have these taped around the room and they are moving and they're chatting with the partners before they go to record their motes. Just a plug for a couple of resources that MOTE provides is the Learning Zone that I've mentioned a few times, and I have this linked in my presentation. And you can also become a certified educator, which is well worth your time. I did it, and there's a lot of great videos. I learned some extra tips and tricks and hacks that I've been passing on to the teachers I work with, and you get a little certificate after. And to wrap it up, my last hot tip is it's really useful to have one of these. This is a microphone. It's about $20, $25 from Amazon. In our region, we're really lucky that our students have access to their own Chromebook, but we find that within a class, there's always 3 or 4 computers that don't work, doesn't record. This is your answer. It's just a simple plug and play. You plug it in the USB, it will override the internal microphone, and then your students can record. So again, I'm Amy Dubois. My Instagram channel is Fluent in Teaching, and thank you so much for listening to this presentation.
Well, Amy, I've popped myself back onto stage. I've got to tell you, such an amazing job between navigating StreamYard deftly and also just the shares. Speaking as a former math teacher who was in the classroom, you really brought me back with a couple of different things. Everything was such a fantastic way of integrating MOTE, but the two that stand out that are sneaky, good ways of using it are number one, those sub plans, leaving those detailed audio messages for your kids and the person who's in for you, and also the replacing of the sound icon with either a emoji or anything else you can think of to really add that level of immersion and interaction for your students. So before we kind of wrap up here, I have one real question for you. So you had mentioned to me, and it's clear that you very thoughtfully think about, what is this tool helping my students, my teachers with? What was it about Mote that really convinced you that this was a tech tool worth integrating into your own practice, and now one that you've shared with your colleagues?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, for me, I'm always looking for resources where students can speak and to give them a practice space for speaking. So I love, like, Book Reader has that built in. Mote is so great to integrate. And I love the ease of the use of it, is that it works with everything within the Google Suite, which is what we use within our region. So it's a very versatile tool. And teachers, as I said, all the way from grades 4 up to grade 12s have used it in various ways.
That's awesome. And for me, that was it. It was always ease of use. Is a person going to be convinced this is easy enough to integrate into my own practice? And all of your rationales and shares today, I'm sure that teachers and coaches everywhere are going to be able to take away and really utilize in their own practice. So very appreciative of you sharing with us today and presenting today, doing such a fantastic job. And we also appreciate everybody tuning in from around the world. So I'm excited to continue to participate in MoteCon 2024 and all the festivities involved. And we hope that you'll join us spreading even more of the Mote magic over this 2-day event. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you more for the Mote Madness.
Welcome to MoteCon 2024. I'm so excited to have you. My name is Erin Comninaki, and I'm going to kind of play host here to Jennifer Scott for this Speak, Listen, and Learn Using Mote to Elevate Language Skills. We were speaking before this, and I said I am selfishly so excited to learn from Jennifer, even more excited to learn that she is a Google innovator, Google champion, all the things, and a classroom teacher. So Jennifer, introduce yourself, take it away, and let's get started.
All right, so we're talking about how to speak, listen, and learn using Mote, because we believe that there is a challenge of reaching every student the best way we can. And sometimes we feel like we're at a loss, especially when we're working with students who don't speak our language, and our job is to teach them. So I am a Google innovator. I went to MEX 16. I was a MEX 18 coach, and Spanish is my second language, but it's not the only language that's spoken at my school. So how do I reach people who don't speak English, who don't speak Spanish, and how do we help them get those skills? So the first question you have is, what is Mote? Do you guys see this address? Please feel free to go to go.bcsd.com/9D to access this presentation. Tons of resources, and there'll be information in the notes. So if I'm not there, you can go ahead and just read those notes or email me at jennifer@slideyearbook.com. So Mote is audio teacher feedback, and you probably already knew this if you were coming to MoteCon. It's also teacher directions. If you are a science teacher and you don't speak the language of your student, you can use Mote. And if they can read in their primary language or the language of their choice, then they have that information. It's also student instant translation, pronunciation practice, and it's student voice. So if you've not already installed Mote, I'm going to tell you, go install it right now. And then as you're installing it, listen to me and I'll explain some things that you can do with Mote. As you install, this is what you need to know. You're going to click the words add. You're going to sign in with Google. My students were doing this week, and I told them, I'm not signing you in. They are in junior high. They can do this themselves. So look at the word add. Look for Google. Look for the word student. They are under 18, most likely or over, and to accept all permissions. And I'm going to post this on my screen as students are installing it themselves. Now, MOTE is student voice. This is an activity we did this week. On Wednesdays, I reserve it for creativity because my students don't get an elective. They have to be in an English language development class. But I need them to practice their English at the same time. So at the end of class, their exit ticket is to use a MOTE. And notice I can actually read what they say, or I can listen to it. Now I'm hoping you can hear the sounds.
I chose the word river. The sound that goes with river is running water. River, the definition of river is water flowing naturally down a stream of water to the ocean.
So I just got to hear my student's voice. Now, let's say he spoke it in his primary language. Do you see where it has this little flag at the top? If you were to click on it, you could actually change it to another language and you could read it. You would still hear it in English, but you could see the words to confirm what's being said. So here is a lesson that I gave my newcomer students. A newcomer is brand new to the United States for the past 2 years. And we were working on nouns and verbs. We were using Canva's magic media so we could visualize the words as we wrote the sentences. But do you see down at the bottom where it says write? Oh, that was the challenge. Oh, right here. Type 2 sentences 3 separate times. I need my students to capitalize and put periods and to make sure they spell words the best they can. So they have to type their sentences. They also have to record themselves using MOTE. My students who want to challenge themselves, they're doing a paragraph. And then once again, they're recording MOTEs. And I can hear the changes as they progress through the year. So here is an example, and I'm going to play it. You may not hear it. I'll walk you through it. That just makes me so proud. I get to hear my students' voices. I have a total of 180 throughout the day, whether they be in my yearbook class or if they're in my ELD class. And to be able to hear their voice during my prep period just brings joy to me. And then, of course, I have a rubric that I use to see how do I hear them? Are they pausing? Do they have pronunciation errors? When they're typing, okay, mistakes happen. And I give them scores so they can see where they are and they're supposed to be progressing throughout the year. If you would like this rubric, come to the slide and make a copy. You can easily import that into Google Classroom. Now, remember I talked about student translation? That's this arrow right here. So what I'm going to do right here is I am going to exit full screen and I'm going to go to my student page. So this is my example classroom and this is my Hannah Banana, my G-Trainer example. And here are the teacher directions. You notice that the teacher is talking. And as the recording is going, it is showing the words. So the student is associating words to sound to print, correct? But the student can click on this flag. And let's say they're one of my students who speak Arabic. They're going to listen. They're going to listen in English, but they can confirm what is said in their primary language, the language of their choice. And I don't have to go to a new screen. The student is on one screen. They don't have to go to a new tab and go to Bing Translate or Google Translate. It's on one page. And then if your district blocks Google Translate because they're trying to keep students from bypassing the firewall, This definitely helps. Now, in my newcomer class, one thing that we really focused on last year, and we will restart again, is we will support the math teachers, the science teachers, the English teachers, history, and PE. And we do this by having the students explain what they learned in that class today, last week, what they will learn next week if the teachers give us those vocabulary words. And once again, record and reflect using MOTE. I want students to type sentences. I want students to say those sentences. So here are our science teachers, and they gave me a list of vocabulary words that they're studying. We did a Frere model where we're doing syllables, what's the meaning, let's look up pictures, and I love Canva Magic Media for that now. And sentence frames, the challenge to do more words. And then here is my student. Once again, the voice might be very low, but I really want you to hear this. For the presentation, it's taking me to another page, forgive me.
Mr. Brigedi is my science teacher.
Isn't that gorgeous? That you get to hear his voice? All right, so at this point, I need to show you there is the free version and there is the unlimited version. I have the unlimited version. And I will say that my students in my 6th period class have the unlimited, and my students periods 1 through 5, they're the ones who are using the free version. If you want to extend your MOTE free trial, I found this information online, becoming a MOTE certified educator, becoming an ambassador, that really does help. All right, so once again, my first 5 periods, we're using the free version. My last period is paid. So, I don't like just talking to a screen. No death by PowerPoint here. I would love for you to have a computer in front of you and let's go into your Google Classroom, because remember you installed that extension. And we're going to practice using MOTE. Anytime you see this screen right here, that means, hey, you should try this out. All right, so honest truth, this morning I'm finishing up my presentation and I'm having a student do some voices for me. So I want to make sure that we have a clear student example. And I clicked up here and I realized there was an update. So let me back up. First thing you need to know is you absolutely positively should pin MOTE to your bar. That's same for students. Clear? 2, when you do that, you have options. You can record, and I personally record in the private comments of Google Classroom. But do you see this generate? That's what I learned. Watch this. You can type I am happy to be here. And the voice will work. Let's go to my example students here. I click, I generate, I am happy to be here. I can choose English. I can change the voice. And let's go with Brian. And then I generate. Takes a moment. What happens when I change English to Arabic? Let me play this again. The voice is still in English because we want our students to practice their second or third language, but they can confirm what is said in their language of choice. Isn't that cool? So do this again. You click on the MOTE, there's record, generate, and then there's an upload. And I'm going to have you play with this on your own to figure out what you can do with that. And then come back to me and let me know. That's so cool. So how might voice generation actually help one of our newcomer students? I want you to think about this. So let's go back to my student who got to hear him speak. He had this word from his science class. Mr. Jackson gave it to him. He has pictures, he has similar words, but how do we practice pronouncing it? Well, we come back. Let's try it. And then I'm curious, I'm not sure, my student who speaks Danish. Oh, I thought that would work. Yeah, sometimes you learn. All right, so we know MOTE is feedback. And here's an example that I gave a student. I verbally told my yearbook students I love the personal touch that she added to her yearbook reflection. They have to write them once a week to show me that they're learning and how it's going to make our yearbook better. She can hear my voice, or she can read it. Depends on how she's feeling that day, right? So what I would like you to try is for you to go into your classroom. And here is my example classroom. Here is my example assignment. And not sure why that does that. We'll get that figured out. Let's try a different way. So you're going to come in, and I want to leave a comment, and I just want to click and say, allow. You did an excellent job with your assignment today. I especially liked how you chose this color palette, the blues, the white, the grays to match our school colors. And that is the simplest way to do this. And it will auto-transcribe, not perfect, but does an excellent job. Now, to translate it, now let's say you're the one with the free version and you want to translate this for your student. I'm going to click on English, and you know what I'm going to do first? I'm probably going to edit it. I'm going to say, hello, you did an excellent job. I want to make sure this is correct. Then I'm going to click on English. I'm going to select Spanish, and they can listen to me in English, but they can confirm what is said in their choice language. I like to give my students directions. And one of the quickest ways to do it is to speak it. So what if I'm teaching history and I want to talk about the Roman conquest and Galicia, which is modern day Galicia and where I was this summer? Well, how do we do this? Go into our sample classroom and we click create. And we have an example assignment. All we have to do is click. Today, I want you to learn about how the Romans entered Galicia, which is in northwestern Spain. What year did they first arrive? What town did they live in? Did you say Lugo? Excellent job. Town is gorgeous. I want you to give as many details as you can about the Roman conquest. When you get the idea, right? I can give my directions, yes? As soon as I post this, the words are here. And I probably did not pronounce that word correctly, but if I had extra time, I would come and then I could edit it and put the correct spelling for it. So that is an example assignment. I give the directions verbally, and then the students can come and put it in their own language of their choice. You want a chance to try that? Pause me and go try that. And don't forget, you can do the translate button or your students can. Now let's talk about newcomer speaking. Now I want to let my host know, please let me know when we're getting short on time because I will not be able to cover everything today.
I know, I'm getting carried away by listening because I'm like, okay, I have these questions for her at the end.
Yeah, you have questions.
Yeah.
So if you want me to finish just this newcomer section and then anyone else just come to the slide deck and continue learning.
Yeah, finish this newcomer and then I've got questions for you.
Okay. So when you go to the MOTE website, you're going to notice that there are tons of blogs, and I've been promising to write one myself, and I'm going to. Go ahead and read about how you can use MOTE for pronunciation practice. Because, think about it. When I'm speaking, I'm instantly getting feedback. I press the button as soon as I click save, right? That post. I know if the computer understood me or not. So am I pronouncing the word correctly? It did not like how I pronounced the old version of Galicia. It did not like it. So maybe I need to work on that word, correct? Also, it could tell me how to say those words. So let me show you one last lesson. So when my students come in, they get their Chromebook, they get their notebook, they get their pencil, and I am teaching them using a document camera. Every single student can see my screen from their computer, so no matter where they are in the classroom, they can see how to spell words. So I have to make sure I have good handwriting. And so we're practicing simple sentences. These are students who are brand new to the United States. I describe myself as intelligent. I describe myself as creative. Yes? So we are practicing our writing. I'm teaching them how to pronounce it. We're using the curriculum. This is, it's English 3D, but it's one of the newcomer books. And they have their adjectives and their verbs, and we're practicing our sentence writing. And then we go outside because we're in California and we can do that. And the students are practicing with each other how to say those sentences. They are practicing with me as they walk back into the room. And then their exit ticket, of course, is MOTE. They are going to read me 3 sentences in MOTE. And I also want them to type it because for some reason, students don't know how to capitalize or put a period. And that's annoying when you're in 7th and 8th grade. And here's the beautiful part, by doing it in the private comments, I don't have to open up anything. I just open up the assignment, I listen, I compare it to a rubric, I compare it to the LPAC, which is in California, and that's what we do. I'll let you watch that on your own because we're short on time. Go to the next slide. Okay. So that's the end of the newcomer part, and I'm here to answer questions.
Yeah. So thank you so much. The generate thing I learned just now. So thank you. I'm going to play with that. You know, all these softwares like MOTE, they update all the time. And, you know, we as teachers, we get real busy. We use our tools in the same way. So MoteCon and these kinds of things are great because they get us either we learned something from someone else or like you were playing with it to prepare and learned about it. So
what can I do with this? I'm going to click this button.
Yeah. So this benefits us all. So I'm so thankful. So I just want to ask a clarifying question. I think you said it twice and did clarify it, but, you know, I need things repeated 2 or 3 times. So I know that as a Google champion also, I do have, and a Google as a MOTE ambassador, you know, I have a personal account for me that I get some of these extra features. But I think what I heard you say is even with the free version, if you transcribe it yourself, like you translate it yourself,
Mm-hmm.
the student can see that translation if you've done it with your account?
I have done that. So if I come to this example lesson, do you see how, okay, let's find out if I'm right, because
okay,
don't mind being wrong, but this says example assignment. Let me go to Hannah Banana. And let me go to that example assignment, and there it is.
Okay.
So if I go back into this is my teacher account, and I change it from Korean, let's go to German. Now I come over here. I wonder how long it will take. Do I have to refresh? There it is. Isn't that
wow. Great? Wow. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I think some other people watching probably would have had that same question, because that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
So
because sometimes districts are short on money. So if the teacher can do one account for her and then post it, the students can read it in their primary language.
Yeah, that's great. And like you said, you know, if they're hearing the English and they're able to access it in their primary language, that's going to be a huge, you know, that is way better than just the English itself. So thank you.
I absolutely love watching telenovelas and all the kid shows in Spanish, and then it translates in English because I want to see how it translates. If it's what they say is what's written, it's so hilarious.
Yeah, no,
that confirms it when you can have it in your choice language.
Yeah, perfect. Beautiful. Well, thank you. I've learned more than 2 things, but those are the 2 things I am most excited for. So thank you, Jennifer, for sharing your expertise. Thank you for sharing your slide deck. I encourage everyone to play with all the, you know, it's great to watch. We always watch these and we want to come back to them. But if you found this session valuable, you have newcomers, you have English language learners in your classes, try playing with these tools, because when you get comfortable with them and you see how easy they are to use and how beneficial they are, even if you pick one class or one student to play with initially as you get comfortable, I've been a huge fan of Mote for years, and I continue to be. So thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thank you for everyone joining us, and I hope you took something away today.
Hello, friends. I'm Alex Isaacs, Mote Ambassador Leader, and I'm thrilled to be your host for what's sure to be an inspiring session on how Mote impacts language acquisition. Please drop where in the world you're joining us from in the chat as we get ready to share Mote magic worldwide. I'm very excited to introduce our next guest to the stage. So without any further ado, let's welcome Maureen Lamb. Maureen, it's great to see you again. It feels like just yesterday that we were in a stellar MoteCon 23 session together. And I also have to give you a shout out as a 4-for-4 person. You've been a part of every MoteCon so far. And I think that that's distinguishing just you and Stacey Roshan possibly. So got to give you a shout out for that. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm excited to talk about Mote because it's one of my favorite tools for my classroom.
Well, what you're presenting on is an area of education that's very near and dear to my heart, and I'm sure many others in attendance. So I can't wait to listen in. Have a great session, and I'll be listening in backstage. So bye for now, and all the best.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone, to Mote Does It All, Interpretive, Interpersonal, and Presentational Tasks for Language Teaching. My name is Maureen Lamb. I am a Latin teacher at Miss Porter School in Farmington, Connecticut. And this is my 18th year as a language educator. I think that as language educators, we are in such a unique position that we have a lot of tools at our disposal, but not all tools can do what Mote can do. And I think that a lot of people do use MOTE for feedback, but MOTE is so much more than just a tool for feedback, especially for world language teachers. So let's get started and take a look at all the different things that MOTE can do. First, I wanted to point out that there are really 3 different ways to use MOTE. One, in the way that I think most people use, is to have a MOTE plugin and to click to record your own MOTE with your own voice. However, there are other options. You can also generate a MOTE, which is so cool. You can put the text in that you want, and you can choose what voice you want. You can choose what language it is, and you can generate a MOTE not using your own voice. I think this could be particularly helpful for teachers of languages where you have different accents, because you don't want your students to be hearing the same accent all the time. And so that can be incredibly helpful. Finally, you can also upload to create a MOTE. So you can upload an audio file. This can be really helpful. I know that a lot of times when my students are recording their own voices, they like to record their voices on their phone. And so what they can do is they can make their recording on their phone and then upload it to MOTE. So it's a really good tool because there are different ways to use it. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about some of MOTE's best features. We all know it's a recording tool, but it also has speech-to-text transcription. This can be especially important as students are learning a target language. They can not only hear what's going on in the language, but read along as well. Making a transcript can be incredibly helpful. This can also be helpful if you're giving students feedback in the target language so that they can read along. So they're hearing your voice and they're getting that affirmation from hearing their teacher's voice, but they're also able to read along the text. Next, we have a voice recorder for Google Slides. Using Google Slides in the voice recorder is so easy and convenient. I actually have my students do practice presentations in Google Slides, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. And they can also do asynchronous presentations by recording their voice for each slide. So it can be a very helpful tool for that. Embedding audio in Google Sites. This is not something we will talk about as much, but it's something that can be incredibly helpful, especially as a lot of districts are moving to creating portfolios. And a lot of those portfolios are living in Google Sites. If we want to have students demonstrate examples of their presentational speaking, it's a really good option to use MOTE and then embed that audio. The voice recorder for Google Forms is great for so many different things. In fact, I just used it. It's the beginning of the year, and it's a great opportunity for students to be able to share their names and how they want their names pronounced, and also to share their pronouns and tell you a little bit about themselves in their own voice. I think it's really powerful when you can hear the tone of students' voice as they introduce themselves. And also, it can be great for students to do target language practice. So if a student has a speaking presentation, to give them that opportunity to practice in Google Forms and then get feedback from their teacher before they have to do the graded presentation. That's a great option for this. This is also really good. You can do Google Forms locked mode audio so that when students are doing assessments, if they're taking a listening assessment, or if you're having the directions read aloud, which I know is some of the accommodations that some students have, you can do that all within Google Forms while it's locked for students taking an assessment. And so you can record your own voice giving directions. You can add an audio recording in MOTE, either your voice saying it or one of the other options for MOTE, so that you can use MOTE for those listening activities during listening and speaking assessments. You can also upload and share audio content online, again, using either existing audio files or creating audio files using MOTE. And one of the most unique and interesting things about MOTE is that it has access to translation software. So you can do translations of transcripts, and you can put the audio in 40 plus languages. It's really fun to play around with. As a Latin teacher, I don't use this that often, but it's something that's a really cool feature. And dictation and translation, same thing. You can translate it into more than 40 languages and then share that translated text. This can be incredibly helpful, especially if you have students that have parents who may not speak your target language and who might need some assistance with that. So for translating back and forth, that can be incredibly powerful. And hyperlink promotes for Google Docs. You can add and insert voice recordings throughout Google Docs. And we'll talk a little bit about what are the different strategies for doing that within the language classroom. And so I wanted to point out that for premium users of Mote, you get 5 minutes of recording time, transcription, and translation. Free users of Mote get 3 minutes of recording time. So getting Mote as a school subscription is actually something that can be incredibly powerful. Again, because you get those wonderful transcription and translation features. So it's a great thing to ask for, and it's something that's not terribly expensive for all the power that it has as a tool. And now we're going to talk about some feedback to MOTE-ivate. Feedback is what I first used Mote for, especially during the pandemic. I think that using Mote for feedback was a great way and an opportunity for students to hear my voice, especially when we were far away from each other and we were online. It was hard to hear each other's voices. And being able to do that was so impactful for them. And so here are some strategies for using it for feedback, especially in the world language classroom. For Google Slides, like I was saying, you can assign each student a slide, which I love doing, and then give a feedback in a comment through using Mote. Or you could actually have each student do a speaking activity and then give them feedback right on that slide. And each student would do it on their own slide. It's very cool. It's something that I really like doing. Also in Google Docs, students could share their work in that Google Doc, and then you could give target language feedback in a comment. This is especially good for our more intermediate or advanced students, as the target language comments can be incredibly helpful. Also in Google Classroom, students can share their work, and then you could give them the target language feedback in a comment. So they're going to upload their doc that they did their work on, or maybe they can even do it in a discussion or something like that. And then your feedback can include a Mote where they can hear that feedback. And finally, as we talked about previously, students can pronounce their names and give feedback in their own voice when you're using Google Forms to survey students. So I think that can be incredibly powerful as well. Next, we're going to talk about interpretive listening. I know that a lot of people used to use the tools Flip for interpretive listening, and I know that's going away. And so I have actually found that even though Mote is not a video, it provides that really needed audio, which was what I was mostly using Flip for anyway, so that students can do interpretive listening and back and forth, and also interpersonal. So we're going to talk about a little bit more with interpersonal as well. But for interpretive as well, when I give students an assignment, I want them to be able to listen to the Latin, but also read it at the same time. This can be a very powerful tool. And so again, in Google Slides, students could listen to a pre-recorded text in Google Slides. So you could have a slide here with this part of the text, and then they can listen. In Google Docs, students could have a listening prompt on Mote and then either write a written response or record their own audio response to that. In Google Classroom, students could respond to a listening prompt in Mote with their own Mote audio. But if you do not have access to Google Classroom, you could also do the same thing in Google Forms, which is incredibly helpful. So that's something that can be really helpful. You put in a listening prompt and then students can use Mote, their plugin, to respond. So that's a really cool feature. Next, we're going to talk about interpersonal speaking and responding. I like to say speaking and responding and not just speaking, because I think a really big part of interpersonal communication is listening and being able to respond effectively. And so it's so much more than just speaking. It is speaking and responding. And so for this, again, you can use Google Slides. I use Google Slides for everything. I think it's a really fun tool. But what you can do is students can have a debate back and forth, responding to different prompts within Google Slides. So you could have a prompt on every slide, and then students can comment back and forth to each other. So students could do an initial, here is what I think about this prompt. And then they can go on and listen to their fellow students' prompts, and then they have to respond to 2 or 3 other people's responses to the prompt. And so that is a really cool way to use Google Slides. And again, have a bunch of different speaking prompts. And so with different topics on each one. Students can also do a real-time discussion in Google Docs. Again, going back and forth, commenting on the topic, and then responding to each other, because that's what's really important. Are they listening? Are they responding? And I think that while the initial prompt and the response is important, I actually think it's more important to hear what students are responding to their fellow classmates. I think that is incredibly powerful. And to see if they really understood each other in the target language, because that's showing their level of communication and really where their proficiency is. And finally, you can do this Two, in Google Classroom, using the questions in Google Classroom, students in real time can respond to discussion questions and then respond to each other using MOTE. And this is a really cool new feature that you can use in Google Classroom. So it's something fun and something great to check out with your students. Finally, we're going to talk about presentational speaking. I know that for a lot of students, presentational speaking is something that can be a really scary experience. I know that it's not everybody's favorite thing to do. And so the more opportunities we can give our students for support and help to really build their confidence in their presentational speaking, the better off we're going to be. And so let's take a look at how MOTE can be helpful with this. First, in Google Slides, if students are doing a presentation in class, I'll often have them do it in Google Slides. And so what students can do to get feedback is to actually present their presentation as if they're doing it and record their audio for the presentation on the slide that goes with that audio. That way, as a teacher, you can go in and you can look at their Google Slides, you can listen to the audio that goes along with it, and then you can give students feedback on that. I think giving students opportunities to have a draft of that can be incredibly helpful and help steer them in the right direction if something isn't right or if they have to go change something or something like that. And you can even leave a MOTE there with your audio feedback to let them know what they should change or what's going really well or other ways you can support them. Similarly, in Google Docs, if students are giving some sort of speech, you could have them do their presentational speaking in Google Docs. And then if you have the ability, you could then use MOTE to transcribe it in the target language so that you can read it and also students can go back and read what they said. I find that that is also really helpful when students can both say something, but then go back and read what they did. It's using different parts of their brain and it really helps solidify their speaking skills to go back and read what they said and say, oh, well, maybe I should have done that or this, or maybe, yeah, I really did a great job expressing myself here. So all of those could be true. In Google Classroom, students could do a draft for a presentation and then submit it on Google Classroom to get feedback. And then you could give a MOTE for feedback. Similarly, you could do this in Google Forms. You could have students submit their draft for feedback and then give feedback before their final presentation. So overall, these are a lot of different ways that you can use MOTE in the world language classroom to really enhance your students' and to give them the tools that they need to find success and demonstrate their skills in language.
Well, Maureen, of course, I had no doubt that you would completely rock it, and you did just that. Some amazing shares and ideas to integrate MOTE into teaching practices, and just thank you so much. I have to commend you. You highlighted all of the best features that I think were a part of MOTE Madness in March. So you kind of brought me back to that, and I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, but I'll give you an option of either both questions or one of them. So you shared a lot of different features that are amazing, including some of the newer ones like the generator upload options. What is your favorite integration or feature about MOTE, or what do your kids enjoy about the platform the most?
I think my students and I all like the same thing the most. We love the feedback feature. I think that it's really wonderful for them to hear the feedback in my own voice. It can feel so impersonal when you're just writing a comment on a paper. I think that being able to hear the tone of voice and the affirmation of having a teacher tell you, like, here's how you did is really powerful. And I think that's what my students like the most as well. There are a lot of really wonderful features, don't get me wrong, but I think that that's the tried and true one that we come back to over and over again. That's what they like about it, is being able for me to hear them and for them to hear me.
Now, that connection, speaking to every learner with your voice, I mean, that really makes all the difference. And I do have to give a quick shout out as well to something you referenced. I mean, I know many of our Flip fam out there were devastated when that platform kind of got sunsetted. You know, I know from personal experience, any podcast that I was doing where it was audio only, I've actually personally been downloading those, getting those ready to go, exported. And I recently uploaded about 10 of mine into MOTE and really got some great results with that auto transcribe tool. So I think that it's definitely not a complete alternative, but that idea of if you have those audio only videos, it's a great option. I think you'd agree.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that for a lot of world language teachers, we were using Flip as a way to do either interpretive interpretive listening or interpersonal speaking and responding. And I think that Mote can provide that in a way where you can save it easily to whatever you're doing with the students. And I think that for a lot of teachers, this is a great alternative. Again, it's not exactly the same, but I think that it provides a lot of the features that we're looking for as language teachers.
That's awesome to hear. I love all of it, Maureen. Thank you again for presenting today, and we appreciate everyone worldwide who joined us. Be sure to tune into more of the MOTE-iest conference around at MoteCon 24, and we'll see you at the next session. Be well, everyone, and have a fantastic day.
Thank you so much.
Hello and welcome back. I'm so happy that our next guest here at MoteCon 2024 is Eric Curts. Now, Eric Curts is the kind of guy who does not need an introduction, but in case you're not familiar with his work, Eric is a technology integration specialist at Stark Portage Area Computer Consortium. But much more than that, he's known to thousands and thousands of educators around the world as the founder and host of the Control-Alt-Achieve blog, and an amazing set of videos he creates every week to share the latest and greatest in EdTech. In fact, Eric was the first EdTech influencer that I followed when we first launched Mote, and I continue to look to Eric for his uniquely balanced and thoughtful perspectives on all things EdTech. So if you're not already a follower of Eric's, I strongly recommend you check out his blog, Control-Alt-Achieve. Eric is a longtime friend of ours here at Mote, and I'm thrilled to welcome him back to MoteCon 2024. Hey, Eric, how you doing?
Hey, I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be a part of MoteCon. It's been years, I think, that we've been doing this, and always happy to be back with a product that I absolutely love and use and recommend all the time. So excited to be here again.
Well, anyway, I think you know how much we admire and appreciate the work you do, Eric. And I also love the fact that you always do something kind of unusual, kind of left field. And I think today is no exception to that. So, tell us a little bit about what you're sharing today.
Yeah, let me go ahead and I'll pull up my slideshow here, and then we can start chatting about it. Give me just a sec here. Sorry about that. I should have had that already queued up. We're just too excited talking here today. So let me go ahead and I'll get that pulled up, and then you can add that in as well.
Yeah, I will add that.
Yeah, perfect. So I do like to try to talk about something a little bit different. You're right, because I'm hoping by now that everybody knows all about Mote. But, if not, I'm sure during MoteCon, they're picking up a lot of good introductory content, a lot of basics, a lot of the amazing things it does for, teacher feedback and student use and all that. That's fantastic. Having said that, it's fun to say, what else can we do with it? How else can we, kind of push it? And so we're going to be talking about creating a Google Slides soundboard. Now, I have shared this kind of content in the past, but Mote has recently made this easier than ever. And I'm like, okay, with these new updates, even if you've heard me talk about this before, you have to see this again, because it has just gotten, let's just say 200% easier because there are two new ways that you can use Mote to do this that I think are just the most intuitive, easy, teacher-friendly way to do this. And I want to be sharing that here with you today.
Eric, that sounds amazing. I'm going to drop out and I'll come back at the end, perhaps with some questions, but over to you. And I can't wait to learn more.
All right. Thanks so much. All right, so a couple of little quick housekeeping things, and we'll dive right into this. So for anybody that would like to access the resources for what I'm going to be sharing, there is a link and you'll see that on the screen there, bit.ly/Curts-soundboard. If you put in that bit.ly link, that will take you to a Google document that has everything that I'm explaining here. So, we're going to run through this kind of quick, but all of the information can be found in that document. This is what that document looks like. When you get there, you'll find all of the links, all of the explanations, all of the resources. It's all there in that document, and you can access that anytime you want. And of course, all my contact info is at the top as well, if you need to stay in touch with me. We'll go ahead and jump really quick through the rest of these slides. We don't need to do all the intro stuff. Hi, we already took care of all that. So we'll just jump on up into what this is going to be about here. So what we're talking about here in this session is a really clever way to use Mote inside of Google Slides. Now, years ago, I'm not sure exactly how long ago, but Google added a new feature to Google Slides. They added the ability to insert audio into a slideshow. And that was really great. That was a really nice feature that they added in there. But it wasn't very easy. There was a number of steps you had to go through to make it work properly. And then Mote came along and added that in as a feature in Mote and just made it so much easier to be able to add audio to a slideshow. And so a lot of times when we think about adding audio to a slideshow, we think, well, that's great. Yeah, you could have audio in there for directions. Maybe somebody's, clicking through a slideshow and you can have some spoken directions. Or if you're doing a slideshow where, I've done some on, long and short vowel sounds, you can have, audio that is reading the words and then the students are doing the drag and drop activity. Well, one additional possible use for this is to create what's called a soundboard. And that's what we're doing in this session. We're going to look at some example soundboards and then really quick, going to show you how you can do this yourself and how Mote can make it so easy to accomplish. And then we'll finish up with then showing how to then publish and use that soundboard that you create. So first of all, I think the best thing to do is just to show you a couple examples. It'll make way more sense once you see what I mean by a soundboard. So I've got two examples here. The first one's just more of a general example where I pulled a whole bunch of sounds together, and then the second one's a more specialized example. Let's start with this first one, and these links are all in that document that I mentioned earlier, so you can scroll on down in that document, and there's the example soundboard. So everything I'm showing you here, you have full access to as well. So in this first one, if I go into the published version of my slideshow, this is just a sample class soundboard where basically what I've done is I have added audio onto the Google slideshow here, and I can just click on any of these little audio icons and it will play a sound. So the first two rows, I recorded my own voice saying things. So for example, if I click on this, good job, or nailed it, or woohoo! There you go. And so it's going to, play back that audio. I've also got a row on the bottom here where instead of recording my voice, I use some pre-recorded, audio. So like we've got magic over here. We've got a buzzer. Whoops, get my buzzer. And we've got, of course, the air horn. You have to have an air horn. Of course, you can spam it if you want. Go ahead and click it a couple times. So in that case, I used Mote to record my voice for a whole lot of these, but I also just found some audio online and was able to download and upload that as well. Now, that's one example with just a wide variety of audio clips in there. Something a little more specific, here's one that I did specifically for a story. And so in this case, the idea is maybe I'm a student, or I'm a teacher, and I'm reading a book to my students. And while reading the book, I want to have some sound effects to go along with with it. And so this one actually is based off of a book my daughter wrote. My daughter is an author and an illustrator, and she did a book called Red the Raccoon. It's about children dealing with fears and things like that. And so I took her book and I created a soundboard so that while reading the book, I have sound effects that go along with each page of the book, whether it's the owl hooting here as part of here we'll click on that and pull up our little hooting owl here. There it comes. Or whether it is one of the raccoons squeaking, and I don't know what a raccoon sounds like, so I had to kind of find something here. We'll get a little squeak here. There you go. You get the idea. And all throughout the story, as things happen in the story, I can click on those different those sounds to play them. So that's the idea, is that we can create a soundboard in Google Slides and use it for all kinds of things. Maybe you're doing a game in class and you want to have buzzers and things that ding for correct right answers, or quizzes or competitions, or maybe it's classroom transitions. Maybe you want audio cues when it's time to line up or clear the desk or switch to another thing. Maybe there's audio cues you like to give to students, or like we just talked about, enhancing a story, that you're reading, or supporting content that's being taught, recording podcasts, videos. Having a soundboard can be a really nice way to very quickly, very easily have these recorded sounds ready to go right there in the slide. You just give a click on it and it plays the sound. So how do we do that? So let's take a quick look. And again, this is going to be very quick. We're going to do a very simple version of this, but here's the idea. First of all, what we would want to do is we would want to create a slideshow. And so I've already got one pulled up over here that's going to be my demo soundboard. And for this one, I'm just going to keep it super, super, super simple. I'm just going to say, hey, let's drop in a quick table here on this slide. And you don't have to use a table. I'm doing that just because I think that's an easy way to organize things and keep track of them a little bit better. But let's just say we have a table here, and in each of these boxes, I want to drop in a sound, and then I can type in the box to remind myself what that sound is. So again, keeping it really simple now. You can make this as pretty as you want later, but for my very simple example, that's what we're going to do. Now, the question is, how do we now get the sounds into that? Well, that's where I say Mote is the hands down easiest tool for doing this. Now, we won't run through the whole process of installing and setting up Mote, because I'm sure that's been covered in other sessions here at MoteCon. But in general, yes, you do need to go to the Chrome Web Store, install Mote, go through the initial setup there, and don't forget to pin it so you can always find it easily. But once you've got Mote installed, it is so super easy to be able to add audio into a Google slideshow. So let's take a look at how we do that. So basically, Mote gives you 3 options for putting audio into a slideshow. Used to be 1 option, and that's why I said I really wanted to show you these new updates. So basically, if I'm in my demo soundboard here, I'll notice the little Mote recorder icon above the slide. If I give a click on that, it'll pop up the little Mote window here, and notice it's got the traditional record option, which has been there in the past, which basically means I can just record my voice and boom, Mote will drop it right into the slideshow. But there's now 2 new options, the generate option and the upload option. So we're going to look at all 3 of those and how awesome they are. So let's start with the first one. So the first one basically is just recording your own voice. So if you want to say something, have it recorded and drop it in as a playable audio clip in your slide, really simple, easy to do. All we have to do is click here under the record on Mote, and I'll just say like, hello. I'll have that be my recording. So let's try that real quick. Hello. And there we go. Okay, so it recorded my voice. Now I can play it back if I want to make sure that, it's okay. We'll hit play here. Hello. Excellent. Seems like it worked fine. So at that point, all I have to do is click insert. And what's happening here is Mote is doing all of the heavy lifting for us. It is recording the audio. It is uploading it to my drive. It is sharing it in my drive, and it's inserting it into the slideshow. It's doing 4 different steps that normally you would have had to do on your own. I can now take that, I can move that here, maybe stretch it out a little bit so it's a little bit bigger, so it's easier to click on. That's always helpful. So you don't have to try to, find a teeny little button there. And now anytime I click on this, let's see. Hello. There it is. There's the recording. And then up here, I could type in like hello, so I know what that one is. Now, that's one way to get audio in there. Let's try another one. Another option here is to generate the audio with a voice that you pick from. So you type in the text and you pick a voice and it will make the audio clip for you. That is one of the new features in here. And I think that is fantastic. So if I were to come here to the Mote icon and go to generate, I could put in some text. I could say something like, great job or something like that. And then I could pick a voice, and there's loads of voices to pick from here. So you can click on the little play button and listen to all of these and find a voice that seems appropriate for what you want to do here. You can pick, the language as well that you're using here, and you can also change the speed at which it is doing that. Let's just say that it's going to be good job with Ava as the voice. I'll click generate, give that a moment to generate that. And again, we can listen to it.
Great job.
And there we go. Love it. I can now hit insert, give that a moment to do the insert. And then once that's done, we can drag and drop that as well into our slideshow. So it is, again, it's taking it, saving it to my drive, sharing it, and inserting it. And there it is. So now I can put this one up here as well. We'll just add that on in and we'll say great job. And that brings us to our final option here. So we've got hello, we've got great job. Let's do one more. What about this? What about uploading audio? Sometimes you might have the audio saved from somewhere else. And there's a lot of great websites where you can go to download audio. I've got a whole section in the slideshow with free sites for sound effects. If you go down into that section of the document as well, you'll see there's a whole bunch listed here. We'll just pop over to Pixabay real quick as an example. Pixabay has free sound effects. So I could say I want to maybe get a dog barking, and I could come in here and find a dog barking. Let's see if this one sounds good. Yep, sounds good. I could now hit download, and I could say I want to download that. We'll just drop that into our Mote folder here on my local computer. And now I can use Mote to handle that as well because I've already got it downloaded. I can go to my Mote button, go to upload, and I can simply drag and drop or select a file. So if I go here, I can go to my resources, go into my Mote folder, and there is my dog barking. Hit upload, and now it's taking that pre-recorded one. Let's make sure it sounds okay. Yep, sounds great. And go ahead and click insert, and now it has added that to my drive. It is sharing it, and it is inserting it. So the point is, we are covered on all of those bases, whether you want to record your voice, whether you want the computer to speak for you, or whether you have found some audio online that you want to record or that you want to use that's been pre-recorded, you are ready to go. All right. So with all of that said, you would just repeat that process. The last thing is we now just want to make sure that we can use this anytime. And so the last thing I will say is make sure when you're all done to publish the slideshow so that you can very easily click on it anytime you need. And that's nothing more than going to File, Share, and Publish to the web. When you do that, what it does is it gives you a nice friendly link that you can use. Just copy that link, and then you can just bookmark that link anytime you need, because what that will do is easily pull up the published version of this, and you can click on each of these. So here,
Hello.
Or hello.
Great job.
A great job. And our dog barking. And that way you can have it in a tab on its own while you're working on reading the book to the students or playing the game or whatever it is you want to do. And again, Mote makes this super easy, easier than any other way to put that into there. So that's the gist for how that works. And again, all of those resources, all of that can be found at bit.ly/Curts-soundboard.
Eric, that was so fantastic. I mean, I'm thrilled that you found such a brilliant way to showcase these new features that we've added over the summer, the generate and upload features, which separately have been requested by people for different sort of use cases. And I love seeing them being used here for the soundboard. So that was amazing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for building that into the tool. It's so intuitive. It makes so much sense. And I can't think of an easier way to accomplish that.
That's really great. I was wondering, so you mentioned stories and books. Have you thought about, have you done other similar things with storytelling in slides? Is slides a good tool to use for kind of creating sort of books as projects for students? Is it used a lot in that way?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic use as well. So yes, for my example, I was sort of saying, well, what if I'm literally holding the book up in class and I'm, reading this story to my students, and I just want some sound effects to go along with it to bring it to life. But absolutely, you could have Google Slides as the story itself. Wonderful for students to create their own stories. And then, they can drop in all of these audio effects into the story, whether it is them reading the story, whether it's having the computer read it for them, or if they're just adding sound effects into it. When my daughter was really young, there used to be these CD-ROM games. I know now we're going way back. I'm talking about CD-ROM games. There are these CD-ROM games that were basically famous kid stories, whether it was The Cat in the Hat or whatever. And as it flipped through the pages, if you hovered your mouse all around, you could find clickable spots. And when you clicked it, it would say something or do something. And that was a neat way to teach students about using a mouse and so forth while learning the story. Well, you could replicate that very easily by doing the same thing with having Mote, adding audio into the slideshow there. And then you could click on different spots and have the sound effects to go along with the story that you're reading or exploring.
I love it. You've actually given me an idea, which I think I'm not going to share today, but I've just given me an idea for something cool, which I'd love us to build. So maybe I'll have a surprise for next time you and I speak and talk about
love it.
But I'll keep it to myself until I get too excited. So I'll leave it. But Eric, this has been a pleasure as always. I really appreciate the ideas, the creativity here. I'm going to go find myself. Where can I find Red the Raccoon? Is that one of the things?
Oh, yeah. So that is a book my daughter put out. She's done several books. If you go to the main link here for the resource document and you go to the section on sample slide boards or soundboards, I do have the actual book link to Amazon for Red the Raccoon there, where you can pop on out for that, as well as the published version and the edited version of the soundboard. So you can go to the edit version, which basically means you can make your own copy. If you go there, you can get the original slideshow there and just go file, make a copy, and you can have your own copy of that. So you can have sound effects to go along with it while you're reading it. But yes, the link to her book is in there as well at that link.
Amazing. Thank you. Well, that's it for today for this session. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Eric. As always, a real pleasure to get to spend time with you. And thank you again for joining us for MoteCon.
Thanks so much.
Take care. All right. That's great. We'll see you again in just a couple of minutes.
Everyone, I'm Eleni Kyritsis and I'm Mote's community leader. I'm really excited today to share with you ways that you can get creative using Mote in the elementary classroom. So let's get started. Alrighty, if you are not following me already or following Mote on socials, make sure you check Mote out, but also give me a follow at Miss Kyritsis. You're able to find me across all the platforms. I'm really excited today to share with you all some fun and creative ways that you can use Mote within the elementary classroom, but even in the middle school or high school as well. My whole thing about education is bringing learning alive and engaging students through creative ways. And this is really easy to do with the help from Mote. So what I'm going to be exploring today is ways that you can support learners in the creative writing process, as well as adding sounds and voice to text to enhance student writing. using QR codes, which has to be one of my absolute favorite features that Mote has. And finally, I'm going to share with you some choose your own adventure stories that students can create. So let's go get started. First, I want to share with you all hypermotes within Google Docs. Now, I absolutely love hypermotes because they allow you to describe or say particular words to support those learners in your classroom. So at my current school, we have a lot of students who arrive from China and their first language that they speak is Mandarin. So for them to expand their vocabulary and also to be included in all the learning taking place in the classroom, I find using Mote really helps these students in my class. So what you can do is here I've simply got some text about a koala, and when you hover over the word marsupial here, you'll see that you get your normal comment emoji buttons on the right, but at the top there you can see a link button with the Mote icon. When you click on this, it allows you to record a hypermote, and what that does is you can see now that marsupials is now highlighted in light blue and underlined, and when students hover over it, they will see the Mote icon card. And now what students can do is they can simply click on it. They can hear me saying the word marsupials. And what I love is they can also translate this into their first language. So for students in my class, this is Mandarin. This helps expand their vocabulary and also helps them feel included in the classroom. Other ways that I've used hypermotes in my classroom is for spelling words. I think it's really, really helpful for students to say the words that they're learning to spell or even break them up. So you can actually capture this learning using hypermotes, and students can do this simply within a Google Doc. Now, the next feature I'm going to share with you all is a new feature that Mote has released where students and adults, anyone can record and it creates the text. And then what you can do with that text from your recording is drag and drop it directly onto your document. It also works within Google Slides and any of the other platforms that you're using Mote within. And what I love about this is it allows those students who struggle to get their creative writing and their stories down onto either paper or onto the computer. It allows them to have success in that learning process without needing the teacher there by their side to hold their hand. So I've got one specific student in mind at my school who is dyslexic and really has the most creative brain and loves storytelling. But whenever it comes to writing a story, she really struggles to get her ideas onto paper. So I'm going to show you a video here of what she does. It is me doing the recording to give you an example, but this is what she does within the classroom to help get her creative writing ideas onto the paper. Lily could not believe her eyes. This glowing mushroom stood out from all the others. Then all of a sudden, Lily turned when she heard a rustle in the bushes. When she turned back, the glowing mushroom was gone. Where did it go? Lily didn't know. So there you can see by simply clicking on and recording my Mote, I was then able to grab that text and drag and drop it into the doc. Now this has been an absolute game changer for this student. She feels included and is still able to achieve the same success as every other pupil in the class. Now, the next step that I've started doing with our story writing is we're beginning to add sound effects. So simply by using hypermotes, you can see there with the word rustle in the bushes that students can add those sounds and add them in. Mote has also included an upload button now where you can upload your own sounds. So you can also have students upload their own sounds. So here you can see you've got record, generate, or upload. So you can simply click on upload and then students can upload their sounds. This has been amazing as well. Our students who are very musical like to create their own music to go with their stories. So they're able to upload their own sounds to play in the background when they're reading their stories. And I think this is an amazing new feature that can really enhance story writing process as well. So let's check out how that works. So there you can simply hear the rustling that I just created with a jacket and a piece of paper to show the rustling that happened in the bushes. And as I said, students are really creative with this process, and the things that they come up with are mind-blowing. So definitely check this out if you haven't already within your class. Alrighty, we're going to keep moving now, and I'm going to share with you a little bit about QR codes and a new feature that came out a few months ago that some of you might not be aware of, is you can actually now remove background noise. And being an elementary teacher, this has been an absolute game changer in the classroom. No longer do students need to all be quiet or another student has to step out of the room to record. By simply turning on this toggle button in the extension, you are able to remove background noise, which makes it really, really easy in the elementary classroom to now use Mote. I know this was a feature that many people were after, and I'm so glad it is now there. Another little amazing feature that you may not be aware of, within QR codes, you can now see that you can save it, which allows you to download it to your computer, but you can also print your QR code. Now, this just saves a few little steps and students can simply hit print. Another amazing thing is you can get these little portable printers these days off Amazon and a range of other places for like $20, $30, and they print stickers. And we have one of these in our classroom, and it is so quick that students can record instructions, or you as a teacher can record instructions, simply hit print, send it to that Bluetooth through the Wi-Fi or whatever to your printer, and then print it out and stick it on a poster or on a book or whatever it is. So that print icon has been saving me so much time instead of going to downloads and everything there. So if you weren't aware of that feature is there as well. Now, talking about QR codes, I know I've shared this in the past, and it is absolutely one of my favorites. I think if you're not using Mote QR codes at your school, you are missing out. QR codes really allows you to bring things to life. So in our library, we've got an iPad set up in there and a computer, and students can record their motes. And then I simply pop their QR codes onto a bookmark. And now that they can simply print them, they can cut them out and add them to a bookmark and then stick them in a book. But within our library, we have book recommendations. This allows students to listen to other book recommendations from other peers and recommend books to each other. This has been amazing for students who are hesitant to read. You can also have students record themselves reading stories and pop them in the books for younger readers. I know our first year students, when they come in from lunch, they have a bit of quiet reading time, and some of them sometimes like a book being read to them. So they just simply go get a QR code, a book with a QR code on it, and they pop their headphones on, and the older students in the school have read and recorded some of these amazing stories that they love that they can just sit down and listen to. Students can also do that for their own stories that they compose and create themselves. They can record their voices to bring their story alive. This was a little project that my year twos did last semester, and they were looking at life cycles, and students created their own version of the Very Hungry Caterpillar, but for a different type of living thing, whether it was a plant or a turtle you can see, or a fish. So they explored and researched all the different life cycles, and they popped themselves into different groups. And then what the students did was they wrote their story, typed it up, and we created a Mote QR code. Now, the reason we did a Mote QR code was these then went up on display in our hallway. And we have a lot of tours through our school, and the tours love scanning these and are able to listen to the students' stories, hear their expression, and hear the joy that comes out when they read their own stories. So a really simple thing that you can do in your classroom that enhances that whole story process and also brings joy. Also, as a teacher, it allows you to hear your students reading aloud. And this is it added to their models as well that they created for their different life cycles. Now, let's move on to choose your own adventure stories within Google Slides. Now, this is one of my favorite things to do. It does get a little bit fiddly, but I must say it is a great thing to do for different holidays and end of the year, or a whole range of things. And I normally pair students up when they're doing this, and they work on it together, and they have so much joy and so much fun when they create them together. So I've just simply created some very simple little ones here to give you some ideas. So this is called the Rainbow Unicorn, and then you can simply click on here to start, and it will take you to the next slide. Now, what I've done is you can see I have recorded the story. So when you click on the mote, it will read the story aloud.
The rainbow unicorn lived in a magical castle. He was bored of living in the castle. What should he do?
So it's reading the story and creating an interactive story. Then students can click on the other mote buttons, and it will say,
leave the castle and go on an adventure,
or stay in the castle and be with his friends. And what you can do is you can actually link the buttons. So when this is in presentation mode, students can simply click on this and it will go to the next slide. You can see there I've already linked it. Now, when you are doing this, you can also change these icons. So you can simply go up the top here where it's got replace image, and you can search the web and change it to different things. Oh, this is for my next one. I've already got it prepared. But you can change it and create amazing things that students can link and change their stories. And again, you can create your own buttons. You can add your voice recordings to them. And then by simply clicking on link, it can go to every slide in this presentation where you can then link it to the next slide. These are fun and engaging ways, and students love setting these up and popping on their headphones and going on little story adventures. I know when I was growing up, these were some of my favorite books to read, where you got to pick different stories and decide where the story would go. Now, with Halloween just around the corner, spooky stories are another great way. And as I mentioned earlier, you can upload your own sounds. So here you can see I have got a Halloween sound here. So this is a sound that I've just been able to grab, but you can create their own Halloween sounds. They can compose their own and then simply upload it to Mote and insert it for their spooky stories. Again, you can create and change the icon. So here you can see I've got a mushroom, but when I hover over it, I can play "In the dark, dark night lived a small boy" to create the story. So here I've got yes, and I can simply click on replace image, search the web. I can search a pumpkin icon, and then I can select which icon I would like. So I can select this one and hit replace. And then what it does is it changes that. So I've now got that there. And then when students click on the word yes, it will take them to the next slide. So students can have a bit of fun. They can create all these different sort of adventure stories that really take them on a journey that they can create fun and engaging stories. Now, I hope you have seen some fun and exciting ways that you can get creative with Mote in the classroom. Definitely check out voice to text and dragging the text onto your doc or onto your slides. This is really helpful for students, particularly if they've written their story. They can simply record their voice and then drag and drop it on. No need now for them to spend hours typing it. That will also save you so much time in the classroom. If you haven't used QR codes, check them out. They are amazing to go and use. There are so many fun ways you can do it. We do little adventures and little QR code hunts around the playground where students grab an iPad, run around and go on an adventure at the end of the term. And then finally, choose your own adventure. If you do use any of my creative ideas in your classroom and share them, make sure you share them with me and tag me. I'd love to see what you get up to. I hope you've really enjoyed my session at MoteCon, and make sure you check out all the others. There are some amazing presentations. Thanks for watching.
pleasure to introduce to you Patricia Ferris. We are so excited for her to share. She's been following MoteCon for a few years, but this is her first year to get to present at MoteCon. So we are excited. This is Patricia's 20th year in education. She's had a lot of experience. She's an ISTE community leader. She's a Google certified coach and trainer, among a myriad of other certifications that she has. But I think most important is her experience. She's in her 20th year of education. She's been a teacher, an interventionist, an instructional coach, and a technology coach. And so we're just really excited to hear what she has to say to us today.
Thank you, Britt, for hosting me today. I am so excited to be part of MoteCon this year. Like Britt said, my name is Patricia, and I am a technology integration specialist in a K-12 unit district. Previously, the last 3 years, I spent as a technology coach with a couple of districts near Chicagoland area for a statewide organization. I've been a MOTE ambassador for 3 years and discovered MOTE during remote teaching when one of my teachers asked how to create differentiated slides quicker to reach all of her students. She had a few students in second grade who were still working on beginning reading skills and needed auditory support. She was recording all of her stories and instructions, then downloading them and then uploading them to the Google Slides. So you can imagine how long that was taking. She was doing a lot of work for her students, which was amazing. So I researched for some other tools and found MOTE. Well, she was ecstatic that it saved her hours of time to be able to just record right on the slide and insert it there instead of taking, downloading and uploading. She was excited to use this tool to help her learners. So I am also excited to share all the different literacy skills that we can practice when providing that instruction for our students. So integrating MOTE enhances auditory processing skills, personalized feedback, interactive learning, and supports diverse learners. We're going to start with phonemic awareness, the first of the big 5 in reading. Phonemic awareness is the ability to hear, identify, and manipulate phonemes, which are the individual sounds in a word. And phonemes can be composed of more than one letter. With MOTE, I can create learning activities with voice notes of phoneme sounds where students listen and identify the sounds, and other activities where students match sounds with pictures. So for our first activity, I used MOTE to record the directions. Then students listen to the MOTE here, blend the sounds that they hear, drag this red circle over the image that matches the sound, and then they record their own MOTE by blending the sounds together to say the word the picture represents. In this activity, they're going to be blending phonemes again, where students listen to each one of these MOTEs, and then they can click and drag the matching sounds over the picture. Then they're going to record their own MOTE to say the word. So if this MOTE says cat, they will click and drag that brown MOTE over the cat, and then they're going to record their own MOTE to say cat. This is a phoneme segmentation activity where students first listen to the example MOTE, which is right here. It says kite, and then it says k-ite. So it's segmenting each phoneme they hear. Then they listen to the words for each picture and say each sound they hear in the word and record the MOTE. So for example, this one will say bug. The students would then record b-g and place that MOTE right here. Next up is phonics, the relationship between phonemes and graphemes. And these activities, the students will practice letter-sound correspondence. They can create MOTE notes in digital cards and listen to the notes and match sounds to the letters. For the sound letter match activity, students will listen to the MOTE. They say the letter sound they hear and then drag the green check mark to the matching letter. So this MOTE says D. Then they take that green check mark, click and drag it over the D. So they're doing the sound letter match. In the make and say words activity, students will be working on digraphs and blends. Of course, this can also be used with any phonics skill that you're working on. Students first listen to each word part. So this one says ch, ain, or tr, ain, train. And then they will then put those parts together, ch, record their mote and say chain and match the picture. In this short vowel game, students will first listen to the word in yellow next to the picture. So this one will say drink. Then they'll drag the vowel that completes the word into the gray word box. Then to check if they got the word or the correct vowel, they're going to listen to the blue mote here. And that is all the directions up here. So I love the fact that you can color code the mote, the little volume icon, so you can give more specific directions. One of the other things that I discovered when I was recording was that the generate tab. So when I click on the mote, it says record, generate, or upload. So I decided I'm going to check this out. It created the text-to-speech mote so quickly. Then I also love the fact that it was time-saving for me, right? Before I am recording, you can just copy and paste text in there. And then you can select different types of voices when it's generated. So it's not just one voice or a robotic voice. And I listened to the other voices. It has some really nice inflections in there as well. So fluency is the ability to read with automaticity, prosody, and accuracy. Now, there are some really great evidence-based strategies for fluency, which is modeled reading, repeated reading, echo reading, impaired reading. And MOTE is perfect for the students to practice that and for us as teachers to provide that instruction and that support for independent learners. So on some of these following activities, you can see that students can record a cold passage. And if you're familiar with Read Naturally, you're recording a cold passage, you're practicing reading, so that brings in the repeated reading. Then students listen to the recording and practices. So you as a teacher or the generated MOTE can provide that modeled reading for the student. And then you can have the voice note being a little bit slower so that they can hear that and practice the echo reading as well in between that. Students record a final reading to compare with the cold reading. So then after multiple times of practicing the passage, then they can hear their improvement and have corrected forms. So here is their reading practice. You can change the rate by clicking on the three dots and select the playback speed. So that's really nice for students, right? When you click on the volume, so they can listen to it a little bit slower. They're going to read the passage first right here. Then they'll do a cold reading. So I'm sorry, they're not going to read the passage. You record the cold read first. So that's without practicing. Students will read the passage and record it for the cold reading. Place it up here. Then they're going to listen to the teacher reading of the passage, which is right here. And then when they practice a couple of times, then they can do the final reading here and place it. So you as a teacher, when they turn that in, can hear their first and their last, and for students to kind of self-evaluate, which is always good for students to listen to themselves. Here is an activity called Fluency Phrase Frenzy. I love the word frenzy, and I love having those beginning sounds the same too, that alliteration. So I used this, I snipped a little section of an activity from fcrr.org, which has amazing resources, all categorized under the Big Five. But the students will listen to each phrase in the MOTE. So I only recorded the first 3 phrases, but you can record all of these, or just not, just have like 6 phrases instead of all of these. And then students will practice reading each phrase after listening to each recording. Then they're going to record their 3 favorite phrases with MOTE. That was really hard to say. 3 favorite phrases with MOTE. And then they'll record that and place it up here in the top right corner. Another part of literacy skills is vocabulary. So vocabulary, you can record your voice notes for digital notebooks of word walls or vocabulary lists, or students can do that as well. I wanted to show you the deconstructed Freyer model that I built in Wakelet, and that's right here. So that is a live link. You can just click right on that and see this deconstructed Freyer model. So if you're familiar with the Freyer model, it's like a graphic organizer with 4 sections, and within each section, there's a specific task. So in my Wakelet, I kind of pulled each section and just in a linear way. And here, you can see the first part is definition. So I recorded my mote inside Wakelet, which I love having that app smash, right? And then you can record the mote right inside there, or record your mote on your mote site, and then drop that link right in, and you can hear it. So I recorded the definition. Students can do that as well, right? So you want the students building the deconstructed Freire model. Then what are the characteristics of a fraction? So then here they can talk about the characteristics of a fraction. And then you're providing examples. So this would be like your third box in your Freire model. You can add in images here. And then the non-examples of fractions as well. So that was fun to build, and I think students would have a lot of fun with that as well. Now my other example is a vocabulary match. Let me get back there. And here I used a Google quiz form because Mote embeds beautifully inside a Google quiz form. I love how the little Mote icon just floats around right next to it, and then you can record right inside a Google form. So I recorded this vocabulary match. What is a habitat? You can see it's written here. You can play it, listen to it. You can have it translated. I mean, such amazing features in Mote. And then I recorded the word for each picture. I recorded the sentence. They have it in writing. So their students are getting a visual, they're getting auditory, and then they're getting the word in a sentence. So 3 different ways. And I just love how much Mote is supporting these literacy skills. So that's a vocabulary match built in Google Forms. And then the other thing I love is, again, like I said, App Smash, right? So DFID has a lot of vocabulary activities that you can choose from. And because they're in Google Slides and Forms, you can embed motes right inside of these. So then one of the other things that I didn't show you or talk about, show an example, is this root word and prefix matching. You can get, this is in one of my slides. So if you're like, I don't know what are word parts and root words and all of that, I love this little site because it gives you different word parts and the meanings. And what's fun is students can put together these word parts. I'm going to show you that in my next activity. And make new words, right? Even words that maybe don't make sense. So this is called combine, record, and write. Students are going to listen to the prefixes. So you can make one for each one, make a mote for each one. I just made them for 2. They'll listen to the prefix, combine at least one prefix with a suffix, or one prefix or suffix with a root. And then they're going to write the word over here. And then they're going to record a mote. So I provided them with one example. So I selected transport, and then I wrote the definition to carry through, and then I recorded transport, carry through. So that's what they would do. I provide the motes over here, then they record and write. They combine the suffixes or prefixes with the root word, write the new word here. And I tell my students, it doesn't matter if it's a real word. You can just have fun with it, but I want to know, can you get a definition out of the word parts that you put together? And then they'll record the mote here. For comprehension, that's the last part of the literacy skills, but we also have oracy too, but we're just talking about the big 5 today. So comprehension is that ability to understand and interpret what is read. So it's putting everything together, right? You're learning how to read, you're understanding the vocabulary words, and now you're going to be comprehending what you're reading. So with Mote, you can record questions within the text to guide comprehension. You can insert voice notes with prompts or discussion. Students will listen to those prompts, and then they can record the motes and provide verbal responses with the key points in writing. And then also I put another app smash down here with DFID summarizing activities. There's just a bunch of them. And again, like I said, I love that DFID creates Google Slides and Google Forms where you can then embed Mote right inside of those tasks. So on this one, I have some different tasks and examples on what you can do with the Mote, and you can go ahead and read those for yourself. And my last slide here is a flow map. If you're familiar, and some of you may call them graphic organizers, but this is actually coming from a thinking map, and that's trademarked. So I built this flow map for something that students would use after reading a passage. They would record their Mote note. So this in here, they would record a note about an event that happened in their reading, and they would provide 2 details. So the event number 2 and 2 details. What happened next? What happened next? So this Mote you can use for main ideas, events, and details, and then they would place their audio recording inside the accompanying box. And these little circles I just made with the little Mote signal, and then just put that in there. It provides that little visual image of, hey, you need to record a Mote, students, and make sure you put that right inside the correct spot. So there's so many more activities and things that you can do to provide those literacy skills for the students. And I'm just so excited to be able to share some of those with you today. And here's my contact if you want to get a hold of me and you have questions. I made this presentation able for you to make a copy of it so that you can have it and check out some of these activities on your own. And here's a little bit.ly for the presentation itself, a QR code. If you want to scan the QR code, we'll take you to the presentation. So I just really appreciate the time to be able to spend and share some of these skills with you today.
Man, Patricia, can I just tell you some things that I absolutely love about your slides and your activities? I just think about the literacy, listening and speaking aspect that you just provided in all of those. They're getting to listen, they're getting to practice speaking. So that's really cool. I was kind of wondering, are these largely done at what grade levels? Because they seem so age appropriate.
So especially with the phonics and phonemic awareness, those are our early foundational skills, right? So even though those might mainly be for kindergarten through 2nd grade, of course you can use them for higher grade levels. And I, as a reading specialist, because I was a reading specialist, I mean, I am a reading specialist, but I was a reading interventionist for 9 years. I always said, if older students need to learn phonics skills, give them multisyllabic words, give them those juicy vocabulary words, and those words that they can split apart, and they're basically phonics skills within each one of those multisyllabic words we call nonsense words, right? And then of course, vocabulary and comprehension, I mean, you're going to use that at any grade level.
Yeah, I love that so much. I think my favorite activity you shared was the reading practice, because we use Mote for fluency all the time, but I hadn't thought to do it in the way where they do a cold read, and then they listen to the teacher read, and then they go back and do a final. I would love to see like the beginning and then the progress after just hearing somebody else and modeling it. So many great gems, even the little things like putting the Mote where they can check to see if they got it right. It's like, oh, I've never thought to do that, or have them adjust the playback speed. So sometimes it's just those little wins that really are making a big difference for the kids when they're learning these skills. So thank you so much for taking the time to share.
I love it. And I love that Mote keeps upgrading and adding new things in every day. So I it's like a whole gem, like a little surprise. Every time I open Mote, I'm like, oh, there's something new here today. So yes, I love that.
Mote is always getting better. And I love how you mentioned even the new feature of generating text. The personal voice is good, but whenever you need to get something quick to be able to just generate, translate, it's also so good. So we hope that everybody else will enjoy the rest of MoteCon. Check out all the sessions, because we've got amazing educators sharing the greatness of Mote. And thank you so much, Patricia.
Thank you.
We are so excited to be here at MoteCon today. I know I speak for both of us when there are so many topics that we would love to talk about when it comes to Mote, but we're especially excited that we get to talk about saving time, because if you're like us, we just started school. If you're a teacher in general, there's never enough time in the day. And these time-saving tricks, we hope, are as beneficial to you as they've been to us. So we're really excited to share with you.
We actually present Mote all the time together. We are, in fact, on the same instructional technology team, but we're also friends. So we love being able to use Mote in our personal lives for our teacher gifts, and we're going to share a ton about you, but then just saving ourselves and our teachers time is amazing. So my name's Jordana Kaiser. I'm an instructional technologist in Northwest ISD. I've actually been doing this role since before I even moved over to Northwest. I'm from California, so if we have any California people, huge shout out to you guys. I'm super happy to be here and excited to share with you at MoteCon.
Yeah, and my name's Brittany Horn. Once again, same team, friends. So shout out to the instructional technology team in Northwest. It's the dream team. But this is my 14th year in education. I started out teaching high school English, but we are living the same life because we both started secondary. And now, well, Jordana is still secondary, but the elementary world has won me over. So I'm at 6 elementary campuses, and the elementary world has just, rocked my world. This is year 10 as an instructional technologist.
So we have shared with you on this screen our tiny URL of all of our slides for today. So if you want to go to tinyurl.com/MoteMagic, you'll be able to get all these goodies, these amazing templates, and just have them on hand when you want to save some time in your life.
I am excited to share some Mote magic when it comes to using Mote in Google Slides and Google Docs for audio supports and for student creation, in Google Forms, and then also for feedback and a little bit in mail. So let's dive in. I don't want to overlook the power of simple audio supports or audio instructions. How many times as a teacher have you thought, man, if I could just clone myself? You find yourself repeating directions or telling a guest educator or somebody else in the room what your kids are going to be doing. And Mote allows you to leave that personal voice for students to listen back to over and over again. So on this slide, you'll see an example of audio instructions in Google Docs and then also in Google Classroom. And I want you to notice the real power of Mote is that students can even translate those instructions into their primary language. I actually just met with a teacher last week who has a student who speaks only French. She just moved in. And so this has been really powerful for all her students, but especially for that student. So we're going to go ahead and look at this in Docs. In order to add that audio recording, I'm going to highlight the text that I want to add audio to and then click the Add Hypermote button. Okay. And then you're simply going to record your instructions. So you're going to tell them a little bit about what they're going to do, what you want them to do, expectations, maybe what they'll do when they're done. And click done. And you're going to see that this is not only linked in, but a really cool card pops up so that they can see the transcriptions, play, and even translate. And you could edit that transcription if needed. I think I've seen audio supports used the most in Google Slides. Our teachers use Google Slides a lot, and I want to share 3 examples. This bottom example is a 2nd grade teacher. She was actually pulling small groups, but she needed everybody else to work independently. And they know when they see that purple speaker icon that that is their teacher leaving them instructions. So, so cool to see even 2nd graders being able to work independently because the teacher is able to voice in the instructions and the expectations. The picture next to this is a nonfiction article, but it's an interactive activity. So you'll notice the 1, 2, 3, 4, those are actually motes. You can change that purple speaker icon to be any image that you want to just by right-clicking and then doing replace image. So they were able to click on the numbers to listen to the text read aloud and continue on with their activity. And then the top slide, shout out to Mr. Baruman. He's a secondary teacher in our district who uses Mote really well. And I don't know if he had a guest educator on this day, but I do notice the students were going to be working independently on these slides. So if he did have a guest educator, it's so nice because they can hear from the teacher himself what they're supposed to be doing, or even if there was somebody else in the room supporting, but they would know the expectation and they could work through independently during class. And we know there's a lot of power in having the teacher's personal voice, the students getting to hear their teacher. With that said, you don't always have time to record your personal voice, especially if you have a big chunk of text, or if you're really just wanting to create a text-to-speech opportunity and just don't have time to voice that in. So one of Mote's latest upgrade allows you to generate motes based on text, and I'm going to demonstrate how this works. Okay, so I'm going to click the Mote recorder right here. And then this time I'm going to choose generate. Notice I have already copied these instructions, but this can be any text that I've copied. I'm going to paste it in. Okay, Here's my correct text here. I'm going to paste that in and I'm going to click generate. And then you can see that it's going to take that text and turn it into a really nice mote that I can insert on the slide. I can move it around anywhere I want to. And what I love about this is in Northwest ISD, we're one-to-one Chromebooks, and there are built-in select to speak and dictation features. With that said, students have to go in and enable those features, and then they have to make sure to use those features. And I just know that they're underutilized. However, when there's a purple speaker icon or just that audio text to speech right in front of them, they're more apt to use it and reap the benefits of it. So I really like how easy this is for the teacher, but also for the students to use as well. Okay, if you're not loving the Mote magic so far, I think you'll really like these time-saving tips in Google Forms. One of Mote's latest updates is there's a button that will allow you to turn your entire Google form into a form that can be read aloud. So it's that text to speech button. So you can see here, in the past, we would have used Mote to record the question using our voice and then record each individual answer choice. Now with just the click of a button, the entire form can be read aloud. So this is how it works. You click the Mote extension and then turn on that text to speech feature. You won't see it here, but when you go to preview, check out all of these different places. Every single place there's a question that can be played aloud for the students. I also love that you can turn it on and off based on each form. So if you want to have a copy of a form that's oral admin or read aloud, and then a copy of the form that's not, super easy to turn on, to turn off, and it just happens within seconds. Another way that I find Google Forms great for saving time is building relationships. We know that building relationships is key to students feeling comfortable, for students learning. If they respect the teacher and they have a connection with the teacher, they are much more willing to learn from that teacher. But it takes a lot of time, especially if you have 25 students, but maybe even 50. Maybe you have 7 periods a day, and it's really hard to get to know your students and remember those super special things about them. So this is a Google form that's a two-way street. So you'll see a little bit about the teacher. Students can play that back. They can hear the teacher's voice, and then they can even listen to some of the things the teacher likes. Maybe it's that they have a similar hobby, or they like the same restaurant and the same food. And then the student's going to fill this out. I love that the first question is to record their name, because I don't know how many times a student has told me their name, and then I'm like, oh, how did they pronounce that? But I don't want to say the wrong thing for the rest of the year. What's awesome is I will have this sheet for the entire year. So if I ever forget how to pronounce that name, I can come back to the sheet, play it back, and then I will remember how to pronounce that student's name. But same with what they enjoy. So this form says, are you involved in any activities? What do you like to do outside of school? What are you most excited about this year? And when I'm in the sheet, I can hover over each mote and I'll see that card with the transcription, or I can play it out loud. And I can even, if the student maybe recorded it in a different language, I could even translate that for myself so that it breaks down that barrier and I can understand what the student is saying. This is a template, so feel free to snag this template and use it for yourself. I think it's a really great resource, especially starting back to school. If you like the Google Forms template, you might also like the Slides template as well. This one just breaks down a little bit of that, especially for younger students. They might not know what they enjoy or what they did this summer. And so it connects with emojis. So every student can find an emoji that they connect with, and then they use Mote to kind of expand on those emojis. You can see some of our teachers in our district, shout out Miss Baugh, used this last year, and it was a really good way for her to get to know her students. So you can see, once again, they say their name. So you have that pronunciation, 2 emojis to represent what they enjoy. So they drag those in, they use Mote to talk about it, and then they drag the Mote to that circle icon. You are more than welcome to customize this template by changing out emojis. Maybe the age of your kids is a little bit different. Whatever you think that your students would like, you could even change the questions. But this is a template that you can take and customize. So feel free to grab a copy just by clicking on this image. All right, I think the biggest time saver with Mote is feedback. And I have to stop and give a little shout to the Mote Learning Zone. This is a great place for teachers to get inspired because there are so many posts and examples of how to use Mote in different content areas for different grade levels and for all different topics. So 2 of the articles there we're going to talk about a little bit today. One of them is how to give better feedback in less time, and the other is on-the-go feedback with the Mote iOS app. So I'm excited to talk about these, but make sure you check out the other ones on the Mote Learning Zone as well. And before diving into those two topics, I want to just remember the value of a simple voice comment. So this could be commenting on student work, but this is an example of a lesson plan. I find that our teachers enjoy using Mote in lesson plans because they can communicate with a team or I guess educator or anybody that's going to be delivering the lesson. And I love this quote from Psychology Today. It says, people are more sensitive to tone than the explicit content of spoken or written language. And Mote really allows you to avoid confusion by speaking and providing that encouraging, positive tone. When people just see instructions, they don't really know, but whenever you're able to use your voice, it clears up a lot of confusion, and it's just such a good resource. All right, so saving time and feedback. This is Miss Sproles, a 5th grade teacher. She's amazing, but she's grading essays here. And as a previous English teacher, I know that grading essays takes a lot of time because you're leaving lots of notes. You're trying to convey everything you want the student to get from, and you want them to know that you've really read their work after their hard work. I also know one of the worst things is to mark up an essay with a bunch of red ink. The student sees the red ink, they're immediately defeated, and they really don't take much from the feedback. So Mote allows the student to hear their teacher's encouragement, hear their voice, but also take their constructive feedback as well. So in the private comments, she just left a Mote here that the student can play back and really take the feedback from the teacher. Now, one of the best ways to save time is to utilize the Mote book. So you'll notice if you long press on the Mote icon, it will pull up the Mote book, and these are saved Motes. So you know that as a teacher, if I'm grading 100 essays, I'm probably going to find myself repeating some of the same feedback. Even though it's personalized, I bet more than one student forgot to cite their sources or forgot to add good transition words or forgot to use good punctuation. So I can have Motes in my Mote book that I can reuse for different students who need that feedback. So we're going to show how this works. You can see that when I edit my transcript of a Mote, I'm going to go ahead and click that star to add it to my Mote book. And I can give it a title so it can easily be used again. And then on my next Mote, I long press. It's going to pull up my Mote book. I can search or just find alphabetically. And then it's like that student has personal feedback of me saying that same voice note without me needing to re-record again. So really big time saver for teachers. And it allows you to give personal feedback that's also timely and specific. All right. I love this quote by John Hattie. Students want personalization. We know, for example, when teachers give feedback to the whole class, every kid knows it's not about them and they tune out. And ideally, as teachers, we want to leave feedback in the walls of our building. We don't want to do this outside of school, but the reality is you're probably going to end up grading some papers while you're at a soccer game or you're waiting in your car for your kids to get done with some kind of rehearsal, or you're in the doctor's office. So you can be looking at your students' work, and with the Mote iOS app, you can actually record a quick voice note and it will automatically copy that voice note so it can be pasted in classroom. So you can see here, I'm going to review my students' work. I'm kind of looking through what they turned in, and then I'm going to toggle over to that Mote app. I'm going to record my feedback for the student. And it's going to be automatically copied to the clipboard so that I can come back just by toggling over to Google Classroom and paste in. And they still have that Mote card that can be translated and listened back to. So great for on the go. Maybe you even have a student that just turned in late work and you want to give them personal feedback without going back to your computer. It's right there and you've got it handy with the Mote app. All right, Jordana's going to talk a little bit more about Mote Mail because there's a lot of power in just simply using Mote in email. But these are some ways to provide automatic mail using an extension called Autocrat in Google Sheets. Here's 2 templates for inspiration. They can obviously be customized, but what we have here is a positive parent email template. So this is set up so that the teacher can make positive contact with each parent in a timely way. We know that's so important at the beginning of the year for parents to feel seen and heard and know that you really have connected with their child. So in a Google Sheet, or you can even have a Google form that feeds into a Google Sheet, you can leave the student a Mote and just copy in that Mote link that you have from the extension, and it's going to automatically pull it into this template here. So this one says, I'm proud of Brittany, and this is why. You can actually in Autocrat set that up as a link so that it's clickable. and they can listen to it right on the page. So simply by filling out that form and adding a Mote, all these emails will be automatically sent to parents. I don't then have to make the document. I don't have to send the email. AutoCrat does all that for you. And these templates are linked in, but also on that Mote Learning Zone, a full tutorial is linked in, and it will show you how to do this. Maybe you're a coach or an administrator. This walkthrough template is the same thing, but maybe you're walking through a classroom and you just want a teacher to have that instant feedback and to feel good about your time in their room. This is a walkthrough template you could use as well. All these are customizable. And then as we kind of enter into fall, Thanksgiving will be here before we know it. This is another form that is set up with AutoCrat where students can show their gratitude. It could be teachers too, but there was a 4th grade class at one of my campuses that did this over Thanksgiving, and the student actually went in, they shared a teacher's email, they recorded a Mote of something they were thankful for, either a teacher or an adult or a family member. And what was cool is just so many emails were going out with positive communication that included Motes. So can you imagine being like a parent or a teacher and getting an email from a student just expressing their gratitude is just so, so powerful, and something that teacher or parent could hold on to. What's also cool is this was a bilingual campus. So a lot of the students would record in Spanish, but if the teacher wanted to listen to it in English, they could. Or if the student recorded in English at school, but their family was Spanish speaking, the family could then play that back in Spanish. So a great way to break down barriers and just a really, really fun way to use Mote. And as a reminder, all of these templates and all of these resources can be found at tinyurl.com/Mote Magic.
I am so excited to share with you our next portion of Mote Magic. We are going to be talking about some of my favorite things to save time and really just maximize impact with all users, whether it's your students or your parents, just making Mote accessible for everyone through QR codes and sticky notes and links. It is some of my favorite stuff, and I feel like these are just some of the hidden gems of Mote. So first and foremost are my favorite Mote QR codes. We use these QR codes for everything. Like we talked about earlier, Britt and I love to use them in our personal lives, for our students, for our own kids, to give teachers thank you notes. And we just really love to stick these QR codes on anywhere, because I'm not sure if you know this or not, but Mote does not have to be a program that someone has on their phone or their computer to be able to listen to it. Everyone has the opportunity to listen to a Mote that you send them. So if you're looking at the screen, you'll see that I have our Mote QR codes popped up in all of these images. This is just a personal Mote for me, introducing myself as my instructional technologist. We love using Mote to encourage people. So whether it is an office admin gift that you're dropping off some coffee and just want to thank them for all that they're doing for the campus, or if you're my son and you're saying, thank you for helping me grow, Miss Eccles, he can just put that little voice recording on a card, and his teacher will have those memories to last for years to come. Some other ways that we can use Mote QR codes are in the classroom, and this is really such a time saver and a great entry point for students to be able to take ownership of their learning in a way that anyone who comes into the classroom gets to hear from the students. The students can quickly record the Mote either on their own device, or if you'll see in this picture, this 1st grade student is recording it with his teacher on her laptop. And they recorded him talking about his favorite book, why that was his book of the month. And she simply took each QR code of every single student, downloaded it, and printed them off. So you'll notice on their reading wall, she has a picture of the student, their QR code, and anyone doing a learning walk can come through, listen to those students, and hear what they have to say. So this QR code template is really just such an amazing tool that once you click open that Mote QR code template link, it will look like this, and you will be able to simply click the button, use template, and you will have this template ready for you to use at any moment. I would honestly bookmark that template link to your bookmarks bar and then just make a new template in Google Slides every time you're going to use it. Title it what you're using it for this time. So we'll say that she was using it for her reading wall. And every time that the student would record on that teacher's device. She would come over here to the Mote and it would download to her downloads. Now, when you are using Mote and you record something, it is automatically going to record. You press the check as you've seen before, and we're going to press share and press this QR code. Every time you record a Mote, it generates your own QR code for every single recording. So they are specific to that recording. You press save, it'll download quickly, and you can just drag and drop it into the box and have a perfect QR code. We can say that this was Johnny's response, and then you just do it for each of the responses for all your students. It's an easy to print one-page template, and you simply print it with students' names, their QR code, and you can cut and put them on their desks, or you can put them on your reading wall, wherever you want those QR codes. Something that I really love about these QR codes in this template is teachers can easily record their own responses for how students are doing in class. So think about back to school night or open house. You can leave a quick Mote voice note for every single student in your class, put it on their back to school night folder or taped on their seat in their desk so parents can see where their students sit. As you're talking to another family, that parent that's waiting to talk to you can scan the QR code and hear from you in that moment. Like, what a time saver that they are using their time wisely. They still get to hear from you immediately, and it's personal feedback for their own student. So just using this template in the classroom for lots of different things, we absolutely love this template right here. Something else you can do with QR codes is using it to introduce yourself at Meet the Teacher, or maybe, like I said, at Back to School Night. If you want to send this home in their folders, you can have all your information, all your favorite things, and then you could attach a note introducing who you are and tell them a little bit about your background and what you love. So just putting those QR codes anywhere is really helpful. We'll talk about QR codes in a little bit when we look at sticky notes, but I just really think QR codes are this amazing hidden gem of Mote. Next, we're going to talk about minimizing your time with sticky notes. I love sticky notes. They are relatively new. What a sticky note is in your Mote dropdown, you can toggle on record on URL, and whatever website you are on, you can simply record a Mote recording on the website, telling them what you love about this website, what you think is amazing about this website, or just pointing people in the right direction. Right here is an example of a resume. Think about a student. I taught seniors in high school. They were preparing for going out into the real world, going to college, going into the workforce. If they put a QR code on their resume, just like we talked about you doing for their teacher, not only could that QR code tell their employer or their the application committee about who they are, but that could take them to the link of maybe their online digital portfolio and really just make that connection and put a face with the name. It could take the learning so much further. So we love sticky notes. In the secondary level, think about having a reference sheet at the end of a research project. Even in elementary, if students included a URL saying this is the website I went to, they could even leave a sticky note explaining why this was a credible source, maybe why this wasn't a great website to use, or what they got from the website. So just really using these sticky notes to record on the URL is super helpful and quick and easy to use. If students are already on the website, if they just click the Mote dropdown, they could record maybe a 30-second recording explaining their why, taking ownership of their learning once again using Mote, and just taking it to the next level. We love Mote links. Every time you record a link or record a Mote, the link copies to your clipboard. So thinking about how you would use that, this teacher uses the link in his newsletter. Shout out to Gabe in Northwest ISD. Gabe is just an amazing teacher who really thinks through how he can make things more accessible to his parents and students. So you'll notice that the link is just hyperlinked right here.
what Gabe did is he recorded his voice reading his newsletter. What a time saver for parents. Parents are on the run. They're going to soccer practice and to dance and picking up kids and driving back and forth, some of them working, and they don't always have time to read a newsletter, but they very well could press play and listen to a newsletter. I think this is just an amazing way to use links within Mote. You can also use it in MoteMail. Whitney talked about maybe sending this email, and when Britt did it, she inserted a link. Now, with this link, someone could scan the QR code, but if you're on your phone, you can't scan a QR code. So Britt made this really accessible. She can click the link, and anyone reading this email can also listen to this email. Now, that mail is an amazing feature because what Mote does that I think cannot get talked about enough is it can translate it in any language. So though teachers may send a Mote in English, a parent, a student could translate it in any way that they want. Now, if you look up here, the English, you can click on that button, choose your language, choose French, and all of a sudden a purple icon will appear for a teacher to send this to a parent. The parent can press play on this purple icon, and not only will it play in French, but it translates the speech to text to French as well. Talk about accessibility for students and parents alike. This is an amazing feature that I think really just sets Mote apart from any other tool we've ever seen out there in education, and really at all. This feature allows people to still have the content and hear it in their original language. Here, they can press this big purple button, but they can make it to where there's not a barrier to entry by listening to it in their native voice. So we are going to talk a little bit about feedback in LMS. We've been talking this whole time about how to give students feedback, how to give parents feedback, how to just make it accessible for people. But when you're grading, there's something so important about using your tone of your voice to be able to inflect what you're really trying to say. So words are great, but I know Mote says type more, speak less, type less, speak more. And that's really, I think, where teachers can take it to the next level, giving feedback. And the way we can do that is through Google Classroom, like Britt mentioned earlier. Anywhere you can see a purple circle with an M, you can record a voice recording. We talk about it all the time, but once you get this Chrome extension, Mote will infiltrate your life in the best possible way. So in Google Classroom, leaving a Mote to give assignment instructions, making sure that you can leave a private comment on student work. Now, you can also do this in Canvas SpeedGrader. So what I want to show you really quick is in Canvas SpeedGrader, you'll notice a little purple Mote icon that shows up at the bottom of this. Once you open SpeedGrader, you'll see this purple Mote icon. Now, if you click on it and it starts recording immediately, it gives you 5 minutes to record any of your Motes. I think that's a really great feature of Mote because honestly, no one wants to listen to a voice recording for more than 5 minutes. But once you're done, you can simply press the purple check. And once you submit that response, it will come through as speech to text. Students, parents can play this, and students could also use that exact same feature, click on the American flag, translate it back to French, and now listen to your response, your feedback in French, read it in French, but then that original language you speaking to them is still right here. It's just such a cool tool within Canvas SpeedGrader that we're super happy. I hope you had a great time with us. You feel like you are equipped to save time, to just maximize your impact. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out, but there are amazing resources for you on YouTube. Watch those Mote Minutes videos. They're quick, they're easy, and they're
immediately applicable. Brittany does a lot of these videos. They're awesome. You can also go to the Mote Learning Zone, and there's amazing lesson plans and templates there. And once you dive into that and you are hooked on Mote, we'd love for you guys to become a Mote certified educator. If you are an educator, I don't know if you caught the Easter egg that we put in there, but on the sticky Motes, we had it on Torchy's Tacos. Do you guys know that if you're an educator and you show your teacher badge at Torchy's, you get a free queso? Sometimes it's half, sometimes it's full. We definitely take Torchy's up on that free queso for educators. We're a big fan.
All right. Well, we are wrapping up this Mote Magic. We hope that you really enjoyed all these tips. Remember, you can go to tinyurl.com/Mote Magic to grab those templates and to see the tutorials. If we went too quick, you can have this for reference. I know Jordana and I, we've led a lot of Mote trainings together, but we were just so excited for the first time to do one simply on time saving. So it was our first time to deliver the content. We hope it was beneficial. We also hope that you'll take advantage of all the MoteCon sessions because there are some amazing educators sharing some awesome resources, and it's been a joy being with you guys today.
Thanks for coming.
Wow, that's a wrap on MoteCon 2024. I really hope you enjoyed those sessions, and thank you for staying with us all the way through to the end. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please reach out and let the folks know who are presenting today how much you enjoyed their sessions by following them or reaching out to them on socials. If you haven't already, please use the link at the bottom of the screen to sign up for your certificate of attendance, or just scan the QR code here in the corner. But that is it for MoteCon 24. Thank you again, and I hope to see you again soon.